mic. Your mic should cut on when you start speaking into it. Everything's a little different up here.
Okay.
Mr. Thornhill, how are you?
I am well, Mr. Schultz. How you doing today?
Some worse than others.
How everybody doing? Y'all sitting so far apart. You know, it's kind of different. Y'all could have just kind of brought the chairs in a little bit. You know, everybody ain't coming.
We're creatures of habit.
Look, I had to look all the way down. Oh, it's that way down there. But good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Tracy Thornhill. I'm the Executive Director of ASME. I have with me my Secretary-Treasurer, Crystal Jeffries, our Vice President, Mr. Carlton Ham, was on an emergency vacation. He's in Florida, so he's not here. We represent employees grade 18 and below. I have worked in public works for 33 years, been retired for 2.5. Carlton Ham worked in watershed for 20 years. We are ASME, the largest public sector union in the nation. We bring you ground level perspectives. Our remarks today will be brief. First off, I want to thank you guys for the paying class study that took 2 years, but it finally came through and it benefited a lot of grade 18 and below. First off, I want to thank you for that. Budgets are a reflection of our values. The headlines vary. They relate to a budget shortfall deficit. I've heard 33 million, I've heard 16 million, I've heard 20 million. Whatever the number is, or ultimately will be, any budget adopted must include a cost of living adjustment. Otherwise, we're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. If we begin to adopt the occasional cost of living increase or skip the increase for years, ultimately, we do not get what's fair to us. If we skip the way we did from 2000 until 2020, we're gonna lose out, and we're gonna lose out bad. We went almost 20 years without getting a consistent cost of living. We got one 2004, we didn't get one in 5. We got one in 2006, didn't get another one to 2009. So if we can keep our cost of living rates going every year, in spite of the shortfalls, I think we'll be on track and stay on track for everything. Otherwise, we're gonna be fighting a losing battle from this point on. And I'm sure anybody would tell you that's been here as long as I've been here, we've had some rough times. We've had some hard times. We've had some times where we didn't get anything. We depended on overtime for everything we got because we did not get increases. I can say without a doubt, and I've said it 1,000 times, the 16, the 20, the 33 million that we're getting right now, that we're in a shortfall, I've seen them bigger than that. I've seen them harder than that. I say, if we're gonna have a budget shortfall, this is what I call a good budget shortfall. I only hope that we can get our cost of living every year going forward. And I'm gonna let Crystal take over from here.
Good afternoon, Council. Like I said, like Tracy said, we are going to be brief, but there are 2 other things that we did want to discuss, and that is equipment. There has been growing reports and headlines about the upgrade in the fire equipment purchased, and much to do about the significant investment in the Public Safety Center, known as Cop City. But we urge the council to ensure its budget includes significant funding for equipment at the airport, watershed, public works, and park and rec as well. We also wanted to talk about the insurance offsets. We asked the council as part of the budget process to determine any insurance premiums increase that might eat into the cost of living increase and budget an appropriate offset. Too often our increases have gone straight into the pockets of the insurance companies. And in closing, I also wanted to acknowledge the council as well and the administrator for completing the salary surveys this year, making employees whole, ensuring they received a cost of living increase. This was really a good year for our members, and we are thankful. The employees are thankful, and the community is grateful for your leadership. Thank you.
And Crystal spoke about the insurance offsets. And when we say the insurance offset, we're talking a lot about the retirees. I talk to my retirees and we fellowship together once every 4 months. And their biggest question was, how can they get a 2.5% increase and lose $100 on their insurance? It ate completely, and I'm one of the people, so I know what they're talking about is not a lie. So we're trying to figure out how can you just give us an increase and snatch it back like we never got it. We never really seen it. We got your checks and you looked at your check stubs and you were $100 short on your retirement. And you know, we have a problem with that. So in this budget, we would appreciate it if you guys fixed it. Any questions?
Well, that was incredibly brief.
Yes.
No, we'll be happy to ask about the insurance, situation. And of course, we know a COLA is going to be discussed. Anything you can do to elaborate on specific equipment upgrade asks would be appreciated. Otherwise it'd be nice if we could specifically ask for whatever items were kind of driving that ask.
We're talking about especially garbage trucks, because they get so much wear and tear on them over the course of a year. So we're asking for new garbage.
We just ordered a new batch.
Yes. Yeah. Well, hopefully it don't take 3 years to get them. So, I've been here a minute. When they tell me that, I turn the clock on at that point. And a lot of times it's a year and a half, 2 years later, and that's the problem. We still got to deal with these older vehicles during that process. But I can appreciate the fact that they have ordered some. We're talking about the trucks that the watershed workers use. We're talking about all of the equipment at the airport and most of the equipment in parks and recreation. So it ain't no specific, equipment no more than the garbage trucks, because we know the wear and tear that they riding all day long. So we know what kind of wear and tear is on them every day.
Yeah, I share your worry about the wait time, especially if these concerns about supply chain issues come to be even half true. It's going to really stretch out. Mr. Hillis knows what, and he can remind us what the wait is for a fire truck these days. Is it what, 3 years? 3.5 years. So but I know we just ordered a bunch of sanitation trucks, so that'll help. I'm sure we all have a lot of rolling stock, though, that needs to be retired and replaced for sure.
Definitely.
Anyone else with any questions or comments? All right, well, thank you all.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
No, just real quick, Tracy and Crystal.
You would
thank
stop
you.
me, wouldn't you?
I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you both. And thank you for helping me on things like Civil Service Board and other things that you've educated me on. Okay. And always excited to keep working with y'all.
All right, thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're a little bit off schedule. We're early, but if you're ready, we're ready.
I don't know how to do this thing. I'm gonna do a chest round. Okay, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I am Gina Pagnotta. Y'all know me. I'm president of PACE, Professional Association of City Employees. I'm also one of the vice presidents of NAGE, who is our affiliation, our parent company, National Association of Government Employees, which is also affiliated with SEIU. We have a PowerPoint presentation. Bear with us as we walk through this. So this is our e-board, and I would like to make the introductions to the e-board, starting to my right.
Good afternoon. I'm Ebony Walton, Vice President. Good afternoon. I'm Ebony Walton, Vice President of PACE.
I'm Anna Avato. Sorry, that's really loud. I'm a national rep for the National Association of Government Employees and the Service Employees International Union.
Good afternoon, Council.
Afternoon.
I'm Yvette White, and I serve as the Executive Secretary for PACE.
Good afternoon, Craig Ingram, Second Vice President of PACE.
Good afternoon, Shawanda Wilson. I'm Treasurer for Union PACE. Thank you.
And we're collaborating, connecting, and championing for our members first, and that's what we are challenged to do, and we do it every day. Okay, also, as you can see, the next page would be recognizing our legacy e-board members. I know that Ms. Claudia Nash is not here yet. Well, is she here? Not yet. But Ms. Nash, I'm sure you all know her, was given a legacy. She is one of our e-board members, and we're very proud of her. We also have two other members that are, should be recognized. That's on our board, Ms. Ola Stevens. Here, how many years you been with the city, Ola? 45 years.
Wow.
And been a member of PACE ever since we got incepted. And Craig Ingram, how long you been with the city?
It'll be 40 years in September.
So we have some good legacy. Thank you for your service to the city, and thank you for your service to PACE. The first thing we want to talk about is, share with you, is the latent print examiners. Now let me do a disclaimer first, as I always have to. I'm going to just bring it, I'm very transparent, no disrespect to anybody in their position or to anyone personal. I'm just going to give you the way it's given to me in the field. And as always, PACE gives you the meat and the heartburn, and then we come up with some suggestions and solutions, as always. And it's up to you to decide if you want to be on this team and help us out and get things straight, or if you just want to just let it go by the wayside, and then I'll come back the next time and say, I told you so. So, latent print examiners, team highlights. Latent print examiners, should have a copy of this in front of you. We've been having some issues with the latent print examiners through the comp and pay study. They felt that they were overlooked, maybe because they, whoever did the comp and pay, I can't remember the green, whoever it was, but they did not do a very good job of looking into what latent print examiners actually do. And they examine the fingerprints of the criminals. And then we have your crime scene investigators that actually be there, that right now I'm not gonna speak too much on it, but they're asking to be first responders because they normally are there looking at the crime scene before even the police or them start investigating. So right now they're having some issue with pay raises, and they address their concerns regarding pay disparity within their classification. We met with Chief Sherabon for discussion. That will be coming back to you. I'm sure he will be mentioning something to you about seeing how we can increase their pay. That should be coming forth to you, but I wanted to let you know that we've partnered to explore viable solutions. We also have requested to have a formal desk audit for each one of those persons, which it is underway. So once those desk audits are completed, then we'll see where we are as far as asking for them to have the classifications change, and Chief will get with you with that, I'm sure. Any questions on that one? Okay, the next one, Public Works. Okay, I've been with the city now about 26 and a half years, going on 27. I've been through so many leaders, so many commissioners, and about 5 mayors maybe. Don't get my math telling my age, but I've seen it, been there and done that, as they say. When motor transport was called motor transport versus fleet, I heard ASME, Thornhill was mentioning about equipment and things that we're having issues and money. And every year we come up, I always see the finance exec committee say, fleet is in the red, fleet is in the red. Well, I've seen it when fleet wasn't in the red several times, and fleet was in the top 100. Matter of fact, at one time for the city of Atlanta, fleet was in the top 10 on the APWA book nationwide. We're trying to get back there. We finally have a few leaders that's in place right now at Fleet that knows the business. Sometimes their hands get tied, but they know the business. So I'm proud to work with that team. However, after knowing what I knew then and know what I know now, I am sharing with you that it is this union's, and we had discussions and employees discussions, that we feel that Public Works and Fleet Services need to be divided. Fleet Services should have their own commissioner that should be answering directly to the mayor's office and directly to you, because let's face it, that's where all the complaints are coming about the equipment and the money and the costs. And sometimes this information can get hidden under the DPW sanitation's agenda. Both of them are critical. Sanitation is for your citizens, fleet is for your city work or your equipment and everything to get done for your citizens. By them being embedded together, you're not getting a true, in my opinion, and this union's opinion, you're not getting a true factual financial piece of what you need to know. It's not saying anybody's not being truthful. It's not saying anybody's not giving you all the information. Some stuff that you need to know gets lost. However, if you had a commissioner and Fleet Services like it used to be, but more enhanced and more, you know, with the AIs and all this stuff everybody's going to, where you got new reporting, I think it would be more beneficial to have two separate entities. That's something I know you need to ponder. If you look into your packet, you will see it needs to be clear communication and transition planning, I know, if that's the interest, and we ensure that affected employees will be supported and not laid off, but it would enhance by you having the ability to hire people at a cost that is beneficial on a win-win. We can't hire real folks, and I mean real folks, that's got these certifications because we can't afford them, so I'm told. And that's a problem. Especially on your public sector, fire and police. That's a problem. And you got people that's working at technical college, what is that, Atlanta Area Tech, teaching mechanics, teaching these things, but we can't hire these folks who is working at aviation, one in particular, because we can't afford that person's salary. So you know me, I'm gonna tell you, well, maybe we need to cut some folks and then hire that person, because we need real qualified expertise to manage technicians to do better what they're doing. They're doing an exceptional job for the little people they got. But we need someone that we're able to pay for. And we don't have to bring them from New York, California, Las Vegas. They're right here. And so benefits to this separation, if you turn to the next page right here, the benefits, you can control the fleet costs and visibility. You manage your comprehension needs of your stakeholders, including outside of your fleet. We need a comprehensible chargeback system that should not be controlled by DPW, but it should be controlled by fleet. And I hope you all know what I mean when I say chargeback. Chargeback. Once we charge it out, fleet's budget, we should be able to get that money back into the general fund, back into our budget, so we won't be in the red. We should be able to zero and balance out our budget at all times. The benefits of the chargeback, you increase visibility into true cost of assets and services. Your users have responsibility for the costs they generate. Revisit our SLAs and our SLGs, service level agreements, our KPIs. Fleets become more incentivized to justify rates, which we need to maybe increase somewhere, and repurpose the positions, as I was saying briefly about getting some folks in here to lead that knows the job. Also, you know, I didn't know about this till recently, a few months ago, and I visited some areas about our fuel infrastructure. We need that upgraded. I'm sure you all had some discussion on that or heard about it. And if it was under a fleet division by itself, this would have been a priority from the jump. Not knocking that our leadership now. This is before our present commissioner, all these years before. But we need to find a way to get back on top notch. Limited oversight, inspection certification, theft, and lack of technology. Some of these fuel sites don't have any protection. Anybody willy-nilly can go up and get gas. That's sad to say, but it happens. Rate structures. And our budget system kick off with rate and fee development for enterprise and internal service funds is very vital. As we explore this, we need new methodologies. We need new systems. We need money. But we need the people that run this operation to know what they're doing. I want you all to really take a look at that. I'm not gonna go through every PowerPoint, every item, but I really charge you all as my council people to look at this. It took a painstakingly time to put this together for the reason that we want fleet separated for DPW. And I really want you all to look at that. I'm not the expert, as you all call it, the subject matter expert, the SME, but I'm sure you can get with the commissioners and the DCs and the director of fleet right now and his team. We have a command center, and I listen to those meetings, and I'm like, well, why aren't we doing this? Because our hands get tied. That's why we need to separate. Any questions on it?
I do actually. Remind me, was motor transport, was it truly separate?
That's correct. It was called Motor Transport Bureau.
Okay, it was a bureau.
It was a
But
bureau.
it was separate, and it did have a commissioner.
No. It had what we call a director.
A director.
Yes, sir.
And then I do remember back when it was kind of king of the hill, from an industry-wide perspective. How many FTEs does fleet have? Do you know?
I'm not sure of how many we have now.
Okay.
But back then, we were very lucrative. We had a lot of FTEs, full-time employees. We had a lot of technicians, and it was ran by Miss Jan McIntyre, and it was Jan McIntyre was the director, and that was under Shirley Franklin, the past Honorable Mayor Shirley Franklin.
Yep.
I have no idea. I tried to reach her to find out what was her nuance of wanting to put that together, but it could have been because we did a riff back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
And Jan was caught in the riff. And so we needed leadership, and so that might have been why they shifted motor transport and DPW.
Okay, I've got all those old budgets going back to that period, so I'll pull that and look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Because I'm gonna tell you, we didn't have a lot of these financial problems back then. Also, the benefits of the separation, the training, alternative fuel vehicles, as you know, we're going to electrical vehicles. We need to have this fleet doing what it's supposed to do, fleet. It should not be mixed with sanitation. It needs to have its own entity. The fuel, do a biodiesel, we're getting into that. Fuel cell techs, we need to have these technicians trained because we got new vehicles coming in, because I don't want to see where someone, don't know who, or decides because we don't have this training, we're going to outsource. Then you're going to see me back up here fussing because you want to get rid of my folks. So we need to have this service separated, get our technicians that's there trained, and get some money to be able to hire some more technicians so that we can get these vehicles up out of here. Developing a diversified seasoned workforce, modify incentive-based training programs. As you know, I don't know the ones that remember when we had the combination inspectors. This usually set up here in front of you, and we hemmed and hawed about it. But we had incentivized and created an incentive program for any employee that became a combination inspector would be able to get more money in their salary. So we're looking at, if fleet goes into their own separate entity, we're looking at some type of incentive-based training program for that as well. We can partner with high schools, trade schools, and military to have them come in and help out, have them come in and train to get these vehicles done for your public safety. We have, of course, I said about the EVT training for the electrical vehicles. We need that. An enterprise solution, telematics. We use Fleet Focus. Fleet Focus is not being accessible throughout the city. It's only accessible right now through our own department. You're not able to go in yourselves to go into Fleet Focus and see what's really going on out there. If we get a new updated module where it's open for everything that you can go in and see, that would be very helpful in you knowing what you need to know about what's going on. There's some stuff out there, but I beseech you, I'm not the SME on it. I've been listening, I've been in some meetings, I've been going to some, discussions, and I've been hearing some stuff. I'm like, wow, why are we not doing that? It says money. Well, you know what? You pay for what you get. Okay, that's just the way it is. We can change with these programs, we can change the driver behavior, we can do the accident portal, we can have parts portal and your industry standard KPIs. Right now, I can tell you since I got promoted to manager over fleet parts, and one of the managers, there's two of us, and I can tell you right now, we are above our KPI standards, which is 85%. We're right now at 92%. We're looking to be 100%, but I'll take 99.99. Any questions on that? I'm really strong with this. I want to come back with you all later in another setting to talk about. I may be reaching out to you all, or you all reach out to us about this separation. The administration is aware that I have mentioned this to them, that this is part of my presentation. I'm going to mention it. And I have, just so I'll be transparent, I don't want anybody saying she did something behind our backs. But this is true passion for me to separate, because I know it will work. Oh.
Wait, get your laptop.
Yep, Amy Stagnata. I was just going to ask real quick, and that when you spoke with the administration, how was their response?
Well, when I spoke with them, they were enlightened about it. They, of course, wanted to sit down and talk with me about maybe being devil's advocate, giving some ideas, you know, to make sure that we are on the same page, but they were not against it. And let me remind council that at one time, fleet was supposed to have been outsourced. And then this employee, I chaired the managed competition, and we won the managed competition. So now I'm competing again, that we need to separate fleet from DPW. Now, do I know what's going on behind the scenes? Let me be real, because that's how I am. Politics. I don't play them, don't know them, don't care for them, but I know it's there. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It might be something else that why our hands are tied and we can't break away. Don't know. But all I'm saying is, from the foot soldier, I know that if we separate the two, I think you would have a better situation with sanitation, because that commissioner, whoever that would be concentrating on sanitation. And then you got fleet services, and that commissioner, whoever it would be, can concentrate on fleet. And you will have two people giving you direct information when it's time for them to do their discussion with you on their department. Okay, and we're talking about Department of Watershed Management. To the next slide. DWM, I'm not going to be hard on them yet this time, even though I said that we had someone that was still the New Jack City, Nino Brown. That's just been my thing back in the day. We did have DWM was like a New Jack City, where one person, not the commissioner, but somebody else that was running the commissioner, did their thing, good and bad and indifferent. And we had someone, and I'm thanking the administration to immediately addressing that and putting this person out on administrative leave, putting in an investigation, and the employees asked me to give you accolades for doing that, the administration, real quickly, because it was toxic. They have own staffing and operational concerns. They want safe working conditions. They want retention efforts. And they want us to monitor the contractors that they're using with your budget dollars, and our employees got to come right back and fix the stuff that those contractors are not doing. That's a problem, and we need to check in. I'm beseeching you all to check on that level about what we paying these contractors to do for DWM, and why can't our employees fix what's need to be fixed. I do welcome the new commissioner. I had an opportunity to meet him. And the DC anew, we have met, and we are going to have a one-on-one in-person meeting next week. It's been scheduled. They're willing to work with the union to see whatever we can do to partner, so I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully we can get some of these items addressed. But I also want you to put in a pin in it, so when he makes his presentation as you go along, I wish you would meet with him and talk with him about these contractors. Do we really need them? We don't need them. We just need to hire good people and pay for what you get. If you can spend that kind of money on contractors by the hour, you can spend this kind of money, even not as much, by every 2 weeks. Okay, so the next slide is my heartburn. And I don't know where to begin, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to our regional rep, and then I'm going to do a disclaimer for her because she's part Italian like me. And so, you know, we're going to keep it where she's passionate about this situation. Okay, if you can turn to your highlights or Department of Procurement highlights, and we do have some Department of Procurement people, raise your hand here, and we'll get to it. Some of them couldn't make it, but they're watching. So I turn it over to Ms. Anna Votto.
Good afternoon. So I want to go back, and I'm going to go over some of this, but then I have additional comments. So,
Help us to know if this study, survey, people coming to you, you know, with their situations, the context and what, I mean, was it the old regime, the new regime, during the transition, a little of both? If you could just
a
paint
little
that.
of both.
Okay, so the change in leadership has not eliminated the things that you're bringing to our attention.
No, because you didn't eliminate the correct people. If you want me to be frank and honest, the people who caused the dissension are still there. You didn't eliminate the right people, and that's the reason why. So this survey was recently distributed to union members within the Department of Procurement to get feedback. And this survey was conducted, yes, during a period of significant change, but it was following the layoffs, which means it was following the new regime, the new people in charge. There are lots of themes that have been revealed. If you look at the charts themselves, and we, you know, it wasn't just PACE members that we gave this survey to. We had a majority of people in the Department of Procurement below the deputy commissioner level who participated in this survey. And overall, what we found is that a majority of people either answered yes or maybe to, in the past 6 months, have you experienced any form of discrimination or harassment at work? A majority of people said no when they said, do you feel supported by your department's leadership? A majority of people said it was unclear, the goals and expectations within your department. And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being unsatisfactory and 5 being excellent, how would you rate communication with your department? And overwhelmingly, the majority of people said 1, unsatisfactory. These folks behind me have been complaining for the last 9 months to a year about concerns going in the department. They started these complaints before the former commissioner left his position. They've complained to the Office of Labor and Employee Relations. They've complained to OIG. They've complained to the Ethics Committee. They have outstanding investigations that have not been cleared. However, less than a month ago, or right at a month ago, all of them were called into the office and told that their services were no longer needed. Not that they did anything wrong, not that and they all happen to be PACE members, all of them. Not that they did anything wrong, not that they were under some form of performance or disciplinary actions, but because of quote unquote reorganization, they are being dismissed, and they've been dismissed. They stopped being on payroll supposedly on April the 16th, okay? Since that time, since they've been let go, all the people who spoke out, all the people who filed complaints, all the people who are PACE members, people that were in similar positions from them, okay, have been promoted. They've created new positions. And in this budget proposal, less than a month after these folks were laid off, procurement is asking for almost a $3 million increase. They also want to go from 97 staff members to 119. They don't even have 97 people. They didn't have 97 people before these folks were terminated. They had about 70. You got rid of, and I say you, because you guys are council members of the city, you got rid of 15, actually it was more like 16 to 17% of your staff in one fell swoop. And now you're asking for more staff? These folks have critical skills that could have been utilized. They are subject matter experts in their fields. But because they questioned, because they filed complaints, because they asked for some solutions, because they were union members, they were considered that as part of the reorganization, this isn't the direction we're going in. What's more than that is, if you're really reorganizing, the definition of reorganization means that you look at your organization, which the City of Atlanta is entitled to do, departments are entitled to do, especially if they're looking to go in a different direction, and you look and you decide, okay, what positions do I need? And how are we going to reorganize this? That's not what happened. There are people who were category specialists that had more seniority that were let go for reorganization, while there are still category specialists that work there that have less seniority. So what objective measures were used to remove these people? It wasn't seniority, it wasn't skill set, it wasn't education. What happened, in my opinion, and I've been doing this a long time, I started doing union organizing and union representation back in 1999. I've seen it. What happened is they made a list of the people that they didn't like. They didn't get rid of positions, they got rid of people. The troublemakers, the people who complained, the people who asked questions, because what they were told is shut up and do what I tell you to do. That's exactly what was told. And PACE has, we have all this documented. We have meetings recorded, we have statements from all of these folks, and all we're asking the city to do is the right thing, which is, if you really are doing reorganization, do it the right way. Do it the way where, if you want to eliminate positions and go in a different direction, then use objective measures in order to make it happen. You have a RIF policy for a reason. And I would argue that if you get rid of 16 to 17% of your department, that's a RIF. But these folks were not afforded that. They were told their services were no longer needed and they were sent packing. On top of that, they were supposed to remain on payroll until April 16th, per the letters given to them. This past payroll cycle, on Friday, they didn't get paid. So I had to go through and talk to Deputy Commissioner Jennifer Hicks and Commissioner Blackburn to try and get this rectified. Even then, they've only come back and are processing them for another 40 hours of work. They should have received, all of them should have received a full paycheck this past time, not including any benefit time that they earned. So it feels like constant punishment. And we want the city to look into this, because I'm just gonna be real. There's some liability here in how all of this was handled. While yes, Georgia's an at-will state, and yes, most of these folks were considered unclassified, but the city has a memorandum of understanding with PACE, and we're utilizing every step that we can take. But the way that this was handled, you targeted union members, you targeted people who should be considered whistleblowers, and you targeted people with active investigations in OIG, in ethics, and in OLER. And that is a problem. You have a question?
Yeah, before I recognize Ms. Bakhtiari, just a couple things. First of all, could you share the survey and the results with us? That'd be appreciated.
Yeah.
And secondly, just very respectfully, we don't hire and fire anybody. So that's would be the executive branch or the legislative branch. If you could just kind of moderate how you speak about that with us, it would be greatly appreciated. Ms. Bakhtiari.
Absolutely. Sorry, Councilman.
That's all right.
It's okay, you're passionate, I understand. I just had a quick question about the portions that you were saying about going to ethics, OIG. How did those conversations go?
I mean, they still have open investigations. The investigations are not complete yet.
Do we know how many open investigations there are? Is that something that PACE has? Believe me, I will be asking procurement this as well when they come to present.
I don't know the exact number of open investigations in ethics or OIG. I do know that there's at least one major investigation in OLER that they're actually wrapping up and in the report writing process of. Like I said, I don't know where we are in the ethics and OIG investigations.
I think it's about 5.
Okay.
It's about 5, but the bottom line, the complaints were all together as a group. And that's how we got involved, because they were our members.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it is. And you do have the survey, a blunt survey in your packet.
Yeah.
We can send you the whole survey, but that's just the main piece of it.
Understood. I think you've given us a lot to unpack. I do plan on following this up because I don't believe that the interim procurement office commissioner has actually come to FEC yet. I believe that was pushed back. So we haven't had a chance to question any. That is not me. Exactly. So I just wanted to assure, I want to thank you for this information. While to echo Councilmember Shook, we are not in charge of the hiring, firing. We certainly are the legislative branch and have questions to ask. And so I intend to do so, but I do appreciate, I just wanted to ask if you had that information to echo him. Please send us everything you have so that we have what we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and are prepared for that budget hearing.
We absolutely will. And I just want to say, I know you guys don't do the hiring and firing.
Okay.
However, you guys oversee code and legislation. Yes. And there are some serious questions about whether code was violated. And, you know, you guys also make sure you're the checks and balances, yes, right? And this was handled very poorly. And we also don't, look, we have a good partnership with the city. We don't want to see you guys. And that is not a threat. I have too much to do because I also represent federal employees. So I have over 5,000 federal workers in this state that now are facing layoffs and things like that. So I don't have time to work on a lawsuit. So let's fix this so we don't have to do that. Okay?
Well, let me step in right here. And by all means, you understand, I'm your go-to. Ms. Anna is our regional person. When we turn things over to Anna, unfortunately, I don't like to do it. I guide her. But at that point, it's over my head because it's overwhelming to see 16 of our members to be gone because they complain just to get some things done. That's sad. And we do have one person, I thank the Commissioner of HR when we had our meeting confer with one of our employees. Mr. Shia, raise your hand. Alicia. When we had our one-on-one with her, she's in media communications. She was one of the employees that got ripped. I mean, I try to say ripped, but fired, terminated, because that's what their statement stated. He could not believe her skill set. And I said, you mean to tell me nowhere in this city of Atlanta, her skill set is not this good? And I'm just gonna put this out there and I'm gonna move on. This young lady When you go to the driver services, your child, your person, or your new person, or the teenager trying to get their license, you get a book. The book to examine, correct? To read, to learn before you take your test. You want to know who created that book? Raise your hand, Ms. Carter. So you're going to tell me that the state of Georgia got her skill set to do this book, but we at the city of Atlanta could not find somewhere for this lady, even if procurement didn't want her. And I'll move on. Just so that.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Shook, you all may not be the hiring, firing person, but you do handle the budget. And for this person, Ms. Houston, to fire 16 people and then come back and ask you for more people doing the same job, that's a problem.
No, our eyebrows have all raised as one when we looked at their budget. I want to recognize that we've been joined by Ms. Boone, who has the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank Gina. Thank you for making yourself available for those employees that are in stress. That's a lot to take on, so you are to be commended for missing so many nights of sleep and being on the ground for these employees. I would like to ask HR or our Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Carr, to opine on those employees that did not receive compensation up until April 16th. And let me be clear. You're saying that the folks that were let go from procurement did not receive proper compensation as it was in writing in a letter. Is that correct?
That's correct. They were supposed to remain on payroll, meaning paid through April 16th. Well, your payroll is 2 weeks behind. So they should have gotten a full paycheck this past Friday, and they didn't.
And you had to reach out.
I had to reach out. Like most people didn't get a paycheck at all. So you're running 2 weeks behind. So if I say April 16th, April 17th, it was 2 weeks before was this past Friday. So they were supposed to get a full 80-hour paycheck, not even before any benefit time that they had, right? Annually, whatever was paid out.
Are you sure that that was every single employee?
Pretty much. I mean, some of them did receive whatever benefit time that they had, but yes.
But who can verify that that was in a letter and that they would receive pay until April 16th? Let me hear from our Deputy Chief Financial Officer on that.
Okay, all of these right here so far, raise your hand. They didn't get theirs, and the other ones, we'll give you a count of that, they're not here. And we were able to get a pay, when you call.
Pay card. Thanks to Deputy Commissioner Hicks. I mean,
Is someone from HR here?
She was on it.
Is someone from HR here?
But they only got 1 week.
Is someone from HR at this hearing right now?
No.
We need someone from the City of Atlanta HR department to come to the old council chambers. We need to address this. Can we hear from our Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Yolanda Carr, on the pay and what she may know about this issue of the letter April 16th, and then the employees not receiving that compensation?
Good afternoon, Yolanda Carr, Deputy CFO. We can actually work with HR to determine the end date for those employees, because we would need to know from payroll standpoint the end date for those employees. So as soon as we can get with HR, we can follow up on those employees.
Can I just say, every single one of the employees let go received the same letter that states that they would remain on payroll until April the 16th. And then their benefit days would be paid out after the April the 16th
Got it.
payroll time.
Deputy,
17th, sorry, April the 17th.
no, thank you. Deputy Chief Guard, is there, can we set a date for you to get information so we have that before, or? Can someone get?
Yes, I'm actually sending a text message to HR because we would need to determine.
Mr. Chair, we need to send an email so that someone from HR will be at these hearings. We need to send an email to Ms. Burks, Mr. Pace, and let them know that we need someone from HR to address these issues. Thank you.
Okay, so,
I'm done.
we just wanted to make you aware of that, and I did meet with, so that you'll know, transparency, met with Ms. Houston a while back, and she gave me an introduction of what she was gonna do with procurement, but I asked for an org chart. I haven't got an org chart of that yet, don't know why. Don't know, and then she gave me a list of all her employees. That's why I sent the survey out to everyone. And this happened before these employees were terminated. There was an asterisk by each one of those names. That asterisk was our PACE members. Do I need to say more? And those were the people that were let go. Being ignorant, I'm gonna call myself, I bit the bullet, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I didn't question too in depth about that asterisk, but I do remember in the meeting with you, because you were there, Ms. Secretary, and she mentioned, I said, well, if you planning on reorging, can you let the union know what you're gonna do and who you're gonna do, so we can help in the past, see if they're gonna be displaced, and I'm thinking 1 or 2 people, that we can help find them another job. I did not know it was gonna be all of our union members in that group. So I'm very upset because you played me for a fool. And I don't like being played for a fool. And that's why I brought in my regional rep. We need to fix this. 15 people. It's a rift. The percentage, and I've been through here, I've been through rifts, council, y'all know that. It's a rift. They violated the city code of a rift. Can we stop rifts? No. But you're gonna do it the right way. Seniority, point system, anything bad in their files. Just because they're unclassified, we want 15, 16, because you all made complaints, goodbye. What if the person in the Department of Watershed, when those employees showed up down here on the, what was it, Mr. The public speaking for, public comment for the public sector? I mean, community, what was that? When those employees, I'm sorry? A few weeks ago, you know what I'm talking about, I'm getting old. Anywho, what if you all, that department head decided, because you all went down there and showed your face while that gentleman that want to be a part of the union or whoever he is spoke before you, made complaints, let them go, terminate them too, because they unclassified. What if any employee that come by and whistleblow and tell you the truth, they get fired because they're unclassified? This has got to stop. Got to stop. How will you know anything unless it get on the news, unless a lawsuit comes? That's not the partnering that this union has ever wanted to do with this city. We got a great partnership, and I want to continue that way. So please trust me, everything we bring into you, we can fact check. We got documentation. Did I go to the news? No. Was this newsworthy? Yes. I didn't do that. I'm coming to you. I said, oh, let me wait. They know. And to your point, Ms. Boone, Councilman, yes, I have been up. And I don't cry a lot, but I cried many nights for these people right here because they cried to me on the phone, cried. We got people right now back here that's got health issues that they can't do anything about at the end of this month. Was it the end of April? They're done.
They're done.
They're done. That hurts me. So I'm saying this and I'm extending this and I'm gonna end it now so you understand my passion, and I hope I'm exuberating it to you. What can be done about it now? I don't know. But can we help these people find something somewhere in this city with their skill set? And does this Miss Houston or whoever else was behind this that did this wrong need to be justifiable discipline? Just like everybody else. It's wrong.
Topeka, Howard.
Now you got everything going out here in the street committee that there's a rift. Procurement did it, so now we're scared. Now I'm getting those phone calls. So yes, I did call the administration, and I commend the administration for getting back to me. And it has been said, it's not in writing yet, but it's been said to me that there's no plans to rift any employees in this city. Now I like to use the word at this time. So I'm gonna throw out there. If something changes from that commitment that was only verbal to me, and I am trust, then I want you to go by the RIF policy, because I do know, Mr. Shook, you mentioned about something may come up later on down the road with the budget. They might have to be looking at reduction in force. That put a tailspin on these employees in that field. So a lot of folks are coming to me saying, and I mean a lot, what about an early out? I'm ready to go. Just do an early out. They want us gone, we gone. So think about that one. You want to RIF? You got to cut people? Think about it. Early out. Because right now, these folks, these employees, you all, the city, has got to do something. The comp and pay that the mayor did, we appreciate it. We loved him for that. But then look what happened. Turn something ugly just done come around again to doom and gloom the comp and pay history. And he's firing of 16 people. That percentage is large. And we're not talking about over time. We're talking about at one time. That's a riff. Moving on. The comp and pay calculation, we had errors. We had a lot of errors. I'm disappointed, and I'm going to say that, Ms. Carr, I'm sorry. I'm just very transparent. The finance team wasn't good at this. Not the people on the ground, as they call boots on the ground. Not your folks doing it. They're only going by what's instructed them to do. That comp and pay study calculation with all these errors. That you send a letter to these employees after they done got paid and got happy and got more increase. Some of them got $4,000, $5,000 increases. Now they got to pay it back. They got to pay this money back. Nobody called him in one-on-one and said, we made an error, let's talk this out. Let's work this out. You know what they did? They sent him a letter saying, here's the error, and this is what we want you to pay on these one or two options. Not an option you can give me, the one I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do. Pick and choose. We got folks now in a financial hardship. They went out to the financial assistance, whatever this form is, to the friendship club or whatever through the city. The city turned them down because they don't have the money. These folks cannot. One dude, one employee told me he got a $400 paycheck. How he gonna take care of his family? And now how do we trust, since you made the error the first time, that we trust you not doing another error by taking my money and saying this is what I owe you? Because they don't understand. Because nobody sat them down and showed them the calculations. Nobody sat them down and told them, this is what's happened, this is where you were, this is where you are, and this is what we got to do. Can you pay $50 a week, pay week? Not $1,000 because I gave you $9. And why can't it go all the way through the year of 2026? Why it's got to be before the end of the budget? So your books will look good? I'm sorry, I'm putting it to you the way I feel it, the way it's coming to me, that I stay up all night and hear these people crying to me, and I got to absorb it in. And no pun intended to you, because you know I love y'all. We've had our knockout and drag us, but you know I'm gonna come to you for real. You got your money, didn't you? Your raise. And you rightfully deserve it. I said it. You rightfully deserve it. But these folks right here that's in the field, they don't deserve this. They're not doing these numbers, Ms. Carr, CFO Baller, they're not doing these numbers. The worst thing that I think the city did was allow Ms. Charlisha Smith out of here beforehand. I'm being real. Some of you may not like it, but I'm going to say what I say. Because she was SME. When y'all let her go for some mess, and that's what it was, little mediocre mess, everything fell in the hole. Your financial piece, your HR piece, all of that gone. We haven't got a stable HR department yet. Financial, comp and pay study was her baby. When we let her go, I ain't saying use nobody. She could have stayed and finished this. But look where we are now. So all I'm saying is we got to be more careful about what decisions we make when we make it. And I know the administration did what they could to do a fair hearing. But that was a bad let go right there. This is where we are. So the point of this is that I'm saying that comp and pay calculation error, now employees are afraid. We got the new year coming up, you know, the second phase. When is that going to happen? How is that going to happen? Are we going to make errors again with this? Are we ready to move forward with this? We ain't cleared up these errors yet. So all I'm asking for that is clarification on whether a salary adjustment is planned already. Is it in our budget? Anna?
I just want to add something to what Gina said. The bad part about all of these errors were a few things. One is that, and I don't, like Gina said, I don't blame people that were ordered to do this, but they were hunting these folks down like debt collectors. And like these employees did something wrong by getting the money that they got. They didn't know what they were supposed to get because no one sat down with them and said, based on the results of the comp and pay study, this is how your salary is going to be adjusted. So when they got thousands of dollars at the same time that all their coworkers got increases, they thought that that was money was owed to them. So then they got hunted down like debt collectors. And then the other part that I want to say is the garnishment of these wages, essentially, there's some question about whether that garnishment was legal, considering there are guidelines for the percentages of wages that can be garnished by law. You cannot go above a certain percentage of the paycheck. So when you're garnishing people's wages to the fact that they only have for 2 weeks worth of work a $400 paycheck because you took the mass majority of it to pay back a debt that I would argue that the employees didn't owe because they didn't spend the money. It wasn't their error. That's where we have some serious problems, and why when Gina says you need to think before you act, that also means thinking about what the legal ramifications are in executing these actions on the ground, because while you may save some money on the end, not, collecting this money, we don't know what the legal liability of the way that you do it is going to fall out for the city.
Thank you. Ms. Carr wants to be heard.
Can you hear me now? Good afternoon, Yolanda Carr, Deputy CFO. I just wanted to make sure we're clear on the process as far as how we process payroll, and I do appreciate the comments. Currently, the pay and class study was done by outside consultant. In conjunction with the outside consultant, the pay and class study was something that was done, by entity that was outside of HR. So it was not a study that was done by finance. So the information, the way that we process payroll in finance is we are really the last we have the baton last. All the information is shared with finance, and then the information is processed. But I do know that there was a third party that was involved in that process, and we do have our HR partners that are here that can address that. But I wanted to just kind of share information from a finance standpoint that, information is shared, and so information is processed after it is shared, and that information was shared with HR by the consultant, but they can share additional information on that as well.
Okay, but hang on. Let me ask this before we, I guess, move off this and then circle back to an earlier topic. How many people were overpaid?
I do believe the HR commissioner may have that information. I know that they work with the consultants because they were the first point of contact for making sure that that information was worked out with the consultants. So if you all want to just come in and chime in on that information.
Yeah, I would invite HR leadership to come on up and take a seat up there where there's a mic, because there's no available mics anywhere else. And so I think first let's clear up as much as we can about who got overpaid and what the expectations are about repayment, and then we can circle back to the complaints about the separated people. And if you could identify yourself and answer the question, that'd be great.
Yes, good afternoon. Calvin Blackburn, Interim Commissioner with the Department of Human Resources. Good afternoon. And what was your specific question again, Chair?
How many people were overpaid?
Yes, we came up just briefly. I understand there was a question about a previous issue, so I ran up. So I didn't bring those specific numbers with me. It's approximately 180, so I believe, who were overpaid. We had our HR BPs meet with every person for whom there was an overpayment. We did not approach them as though we were debt collectors. We used a very gentle approach. We apologized for the error, and people were offered promissory notes to repay those amounts. We ran this process through legal. We're confident that we have not exposed the city to liability in doing this. And a certain amount, a cutoff amount, I believe it was under $200 or so, we didn't use promissory notes. But this was done very carefully, very professionally, very gently, because we realized this was not the fault of the employees. And so it's, again, around approximately 180 or so. Okay.
And what about the appetite for stretching out the ability to make these repayments and make it whole?
Yes. Again, I think there were 2 to 3. I don't have DC Hicks, I don't know if she's here, but I think we offered a number of different approaches, payment plans. I think there were 2 to 3, maybe 4 payment options allowed. So I think there was a bit of as far as time to pay it back. This wasn't asked to be repaid in one lump sum. I think DC Hicks is coming up. Can you speak to that? And I want to introduce Deputy Commissioner Jennifer Hicks, HR.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Hicks. Just keep talking and they'll pick it up.
Just keep yelling.
Maybe there's a button.
Okay. Good afternoon.
There you go.
Hi. So the payments were stretched out for over 4 to 5 payments. However, we still have folks who have not signed the promissory notes, and we are not actively trying to, terminate or harm an employee, because we know that they're still trying to digest exactly what they've received, because it is not their fault.
Okay, but you have already reached out to, or
we've reached out to all the employees.
Are certainly willing to have a one-on-one with anyone who needs questions answered.
Yes, absolutely. What we actually did, all the HRBPs went out in the field, and we personally talked to all the employees. We didn't want to just send them an email. We wanted to make sure that we reached out, had real thoughtful conversations with them, because we understood how this is really impactful. As small as $300 to $1,000, we had conversation with employees, just trying to explain this is not their fault, and this is how we're going to try to gently recoup the monies back.
How did this happen? Who's responsible?
We're still trying to root cause the issue. We know that, it's pretty lengthy. We're still really root causing the issue to see how this actually happened. We know that a lot of the folks that had the overpayments and the underpayments, those were our tenured employees because they were part of that hybrid plan. I'm not the compensation director, but I know that there was a point in time that I guess information was submitted, and I would like for her to probably elaborate more on this. And there was the between time of action still happening in the system, where our systems where we tried to go dark, we didn't go dark. And so I think that's where some of the gaps came. And then a lot of the overpayments, even though it sounds like a huge number or underpayments, it might be due to some just decimals, like $20, $30. Anything is significant for an employee.
Well, I mean, obviously, we need to figure it out, because if there's a bug in the system or a process or something, we have to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. It starts with our system. I mean, Oracle is a new system for us. We're still learning. And I think a lot of folks don't equate that we have 27 different departments that run 27 different ways, and we're using one system, trying to push all of the information through one system. So we're still in the king phase. I hate to say that, but there are going to still be some things that could possibly fall out, but I'm not the SME on it, so I don't really want to speak a lot about it, please.
All right, well, I mean, we're obviously not going to sort this out today, but I mean, we need to know that this is going to get ferreted out and fixed. Obviously, it's very unsettling for us to hear, what's happened to these employees. I'm sure you are equally unsettled. And
absolutely.
I appreciate hearing that you're willing to work with them. It may help if you are willing to stretch out your timeline somewhat for the people who are really up against it, because it's like a really large number.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, I've been here for 7 years. I've never seen an employee terminated from not paying out a promissory note.
Before we move off this topic and get on to the other one, Ms. Boone, did you have anything to add? Okay, well then.
Thank you, Ms. Boone.
Okay, well then now, if we can, let's go back to an earlier topic of discussion. And what can you tell us about the separated employees? We've heard they were targeted, for lack of a better word.
Well, certainly, decisions were made. These were procurement employees. I wouldn't want to get in front of Chief Houston, but my understanding is that this is a restructuring. Our understanding is that these employees were not targeted inappropriately or personally, and I came to speak particularly about, and want to make it clear too, as part of our MOU, our job has been to hear and meet and confer with PACE members who have had concerns about the manner in which they were terminated. And we've worked closely with Gina Pagnata and Ms. Avato, met with numerous employees who have come and spoken with HR, expressed concerns about their separation. And so we're going through that process, reviewing it, and we'll be issuing for each of those persons we met with, our conclusions or our thoughts about whether there was anything inappropriate with the terminations. But as far as we understand to date so far, it was a restructuring, and that employees, as far as we're looking at each situation, and I want to speak before we issue our final report, not aware so far of targeting or violations of the law, but we will issue, I don't want to get in front of our report that we're going to issue. And also while we're here, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Chair. Also while we're here, we wanted to come up and address, I think Councilmember Boone raised a question, or Pace had raised a question a second ago about employees who are claiming they weren't properly paid. They were employees who left procurement, didn't get their full paychecks. And I also brought our expert on this, DC Hicks, up. It's our understanding that these employees were removed from payroll in the middle of a payroll cycle and were therefore entitled to one paycheck of 40 hours, not two paychecks of 80 hours. But I wanted to bring DC Hicks up, again, if she could speak more specifically to that issue. Because we run this, when we were made aware of that particular error, I think we went and made sure that people were paid and that we compensated them for the 40 hours. And I think there's an argument that PACE is making that these folks are entitled to another 40 hours. But as far as we're concerned, we paid them what they're owed. I'll let DC Hicks speak to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Blackburn. I first want to apologize to the employees that did not get paid on time. So When they were separated from the city of Atlanta due to the reorganization, they were separated in the middle of a pay cycle. So they were separated to only receive 40 hours. And so because the city of Atlanta pays current. So when the HRS team the timekeepers reach out to the department and say, hey, what should these folks be paid? There was miscommunication. And so the miscommunication was provided back to the HRS team. We had a meeting on Friday. As soon as Anna reached out, Gina reached out, that these folks had not gotten paid, because that's the last thing we want to hear, that an employee for the city of Atlanta did not get paid. We immediately went into what happened. Well, first, let's get these folks paid. Then we're going to find out what happened. We root caused that day. I stayed on all the phone calls, and we found out where the error actually came. And so we do have a plan that does not happen again. Our timekeepers should be talking to the HRBPs before they decide to take someone off of payroll, or, we're the ones who put the terminations in the system. You should be speaking to us, and why aren't you really looking at what Oracle states, because they're already there. Can't go back to that, but what we did do, we wanted to make it right as quickly as possible. We offered pay cards because that's all that we could do. We had to run a separate payroll to give them the additional 40 hours. And work with the finance team, payroll, and most of the employees, I think outside of 2, elected to actually receive a pay card. The other 2 want to be paid on the next pay cycle because we only have a short time frame. And as I had stated, I needed to know by Saturday morning what everybody needed to do so I could figure out how we got them paid on Monday of this week. We do have folks that will receive, they all will receive a paycheck on the 16th. That's for the remainder of their hours. Then there's one more person who's additional that will be riding out a little bit longer because they have more time in the system. But all the employees will be made whole, and so that's our goal.
Okay, so then, Commissioner, you referenced a report that's underway. You have not finished your report yet. You made that statement, so I needed to come back and ask what you were referring to.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm not sure about a report. I think we were saying we were final. We exhaustively investigated and worked over the last month or so to determine the errors that were made, overpayments and underpayments. And we determined, what I said was I didn't have the exact figure in front of me, that it was about 180 or so is what I was mentioning.
All right, let me say something about the word RIF. Some of us have been around. We had the RIF of the mother of all RIFs in 08. Every 4th general fund position went out the door. The rest of the city was furloughed every Friday. It was bad. My sympathy is with anybody who went through that, because and I have to get with law, I guess, to look into the details. I asked the administration a while ago when we first got word that this is going to be a belt-tightening budget. I said, well, are you going to have a RIF? The answer was categorically no. But some of this kind of smells like a RIF and walks like a RIF, and if you've been through it, you're entitled to be paranoid about it. I know I am. So I'm going to get with law. I also know that since then, and I have to get with Mr. Wan, because I think he was the prime mover behind legislation that changed, it altered the RIF formula. It's not the same now as it was then. But I have to go back, very frankly, and refresh myself. And we need a very clear explanation as to why this is not a RIF, why it's something that looks like a RIF, sounds like a RIF, and quacks like a RIF. I mean, either way, it sends shivers up anyone's spine. It was around here in 08. So I'll get with law and we'll figure that out. I don't think we're going to sort out the rest of this today, but I think you should feel pretty well satisfied that we take this very seriously, and we're going to work with whoever we have to work with to get these answers.
Yes, sir.
And to make sure we're not having the same discussion in 6 months.
Exactly.
All right?
Okay.
Anyone else have anything? Ms. Overstreet.
Well, thank you very much. I actually was listening to your presentation via Facebook while I was at another meeting. I'm going to weigh in. This is definitely a RIF. It's a RIF. And I just want you all to know that this particular council has been pro-employee, and we will not stop now, especially during something like this. I want y'all to know that we are going to do more work on this to figure out how to make sure that even with all of these challenges that you've discussed today, and they're serious challenges, I know that I can't receive a $400 paycheck and make it to the next check. Like, that's just not something that we can all do. And I want to make sure that you all know that you're heard today and that you're seen. And I don't think that any of this was done properly, whether the overpayment or the underpayment or figuring out how to get the money back or any of that was proper. And this council has really been pro-employee, and we will continue to be. And I'm willing to, work alongside our finance committee. I am on the finance committee with Chair Shook, and just make sure that nothing like this happens again. Like, we can't operate like this. Our employees are our backbone, 100%. I mean, we get to shine and brag and feel confident as council members in our community with our residents because of the employees. And nothing more, certainly not just because we're on council. So, and we recognize that. So thank you so much for coming today and making sure that we absolutely understood and heard you today.
So just a time process note, fire is here, they're due up in 10 minutes, but we do not want to, we want to make sure you get through your rest of your presentation.
I can wait, but, they'll be there, they'll put your fires out. Well, I'm almost finished anyway, but thank you all for that. One thing, I gotta ask for some stuff, so I'm asking. We asked about a bereavement leave policy, and I wanted to, I think Mr. Blackburn, we talked about this, and I know you agreed, but you were, I know it's gotta go before council, so I'm asking council that when and if Mr. Blackburn brings this to you or have discussion, what kind of monies, I'm sure there's a financial piece in it. We do need to have a bereavement leave policy for at least up to 3 days. Some of us, not, you never know when death comes, but, the actuary study for retirees, like with me, I'm 68, they say I should be gone by 80, so y'all don't have to pay me. I mean, that's reality, that's an actuary study. But I have members that's older, family members, everybody else have family members that are passing, that lives outside of the state, and they're taking their personal time. And I think it's time that the city think of the people as a whole and give them a chance to go home without having to worry about their time, even in the field. So we're asking for a bereavement leave policy for at least 3 days that does not affect their sick time and their vacation. And then also within that policy, have some kind of EAP situation that they can have discussion, to help them, support them with their loss. And we looking at align with the best practices from our peer municipalities. I haven't got a chance to really give that to you in presentation because I like to fact check stuff. But maybe at our next meeting that we'll have, not next year, but coming soon, I have fact check on what other municipalities are doing for bereavement and see if you would like to mirror that as well. Also, I want to piggyback off ASME. They were asking for your cost of living raises, adjustments for 2026 or 2027. Even though we are having to go through the next tier of the comp and pay, I want to make sure that there's no more errors in that comp and pay. We need to know, this union would like to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what these employees are looking for once you all make that decision. And by all means, please put that in the budget so that it will be in the budget where the people do not have to cut 5% to compensate where it wasn't put in the budget last year. I need to be on everybody's team here. Okay, workplace challenges and strategic recommendations. Employees have voiced concerns involving the hiring of certain city leaders who may lack the necessary leadership and interpersonal skills to effectively manage and support their teams. This can create challenges in the morale, communication, and overall your departmental performance. If we ever get where Fleet is trying to get a new system, you even see the overall performance, departmental performance, their goals that they have, even for the safety standpoint. PACE recommend the implementation of psychological evaluations of leadership, competency assessments, I believe, and I could be wrong. Fire has it, police has it. We're not trying to say use those evaluations, but just because a person has the book knowledge and tell you I've got 20 years of experience of doing this, may not mean that they can lead people. You empower people. It don't mean that you tell them what to do, because these are grown folks. And more of some grown folks, your newer people will tell you in a minute, you coming in there trying to tell me what to do, and you don't know what you're doing yourself, we're gonna have a problem. I've been putting on changing out these water mains for 50 years. As you know, Mr. Craig and Ms. Ola been here 40, 45 years. And you coming up because you got a book from Harvard, gonna tell me what to do, and it's wrong. And I say it's wrong, you wanna write me up for insubordination. That's gotta stop. So maybe we need to consider counsel with HR and the administration when we're hiring these folks with these $6 figures that's coming out to allegedly empower these employees on the ground. Do a psychological test to see how they lead. And is that person really what you need for your group, for this mecca city? Let's be more mindful of that. And so we're waiting on that resolve and conclusion of that leader that has some issues with those employees. And one real brief thing I want to end with, E911, Ebony.
Good afternoon, Ebony Walton, Vice President of PACE. So we're going to end with a good note. Over the years, you know the relationship we have had with E911, it has gotten much better. We have had a collaborative initiative with the E911 management team. We have implemented they have implemented a voice tone system. You know, they used to have that bell that dings really loud. Now they just have a voice tone that comes over and lets them know when those calls are holding. So now Director Arnold advised that the call times or being waiting now have tremendously improved because of this new system, and it's not so aggravating or to the call takers or to the supervisory staff. It's just a voice tone, and that will change over time so they don't get used to that particular tone coming on each time. It's going to change over the course of months. So we appreciate that relationship that we have with 911.
We partner very well. Y'all remember those bells we fussed about?
Gone, so there we go. I just wanted to say, take a moment, and I want to take a moment to applaud y'all on that, because that was like, what, a 2-year fight?
Yes.
So, well done.
Thank you.
I know that was a big one, you kept after it for some time, and it's made a huge.
That's called partnering.
Yes.
And so one last statement, PACE wants to end. A heartfelt salute to Mayor Andre Dickens and his administration. On behalf of PACE, we extend our sincere appreciation to Mayor Andre Dickens and his administration, and for you, Council, for your continued support. From the very beginning of your term, you have demonstrated a willingness to listen to us, to understand us, and to uplift and support those who keeps our city moving, those troops on the ground. And while we have made meaningful progress together, we recognize that the journey toward a more just, equitable, and worker-centered Atlanta is ongoing. There is still important work ahead of us. Stop all these errors. And we are committed to walking that path alongside with your administration. Together, we can continue to nurture stronger labor relations, expand opportunities, and ensure that the voices of working families remain central to the policy that shapes our great city. And thank you, Council.
Well, thank you. Before we let you go, Mr. Dozier.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Gina, Ebony, and team, so gracious to always talk with y'all and see y'all when y'all come before us. My only ask for you all, I know in the conversation that we had about bereavement leave, you had alluded to the fact that we've looked at other cities, other municipalities, see what they've been doing, pulling some of those best practices. While y'all are having conversations with your peer cities, with their regional leadership, or even with their national leadership with SEIU, my ask is, beyond hearing from PACE when there's a problem, and especially like the conversation we had today, we'd love to partner with y'all proactively to think about policies that can improve the quality of life of our city employees. So as y'all are finding those best practices, please let us be not only a sounding board, but an advocate to move those policies forward beyond just our regular dance we do every year, but just even in the coming weeks and coming months, especially as we think about ways in which we can ensure that our city employees continue to stay city employees and try to think outside the box to retain them and to attract new talent as best as we can. Would love to learn what y'all have learned, and so we can partner and advocate and be the best city we can possibly be. So that's just my only request.
All right.
Be in touch.
Thank you, as always, for your detailed presentation, which we've come to expect from PACE. And Ms. Pagnano, we will continue to hope that someday you are able to come out of your shell.
No problem.
All right. Go peacefully. Fire you up.
Y'all need a break? Yeah. You're good? Maybe 5 minutes?
All right, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
If y'all are ready, take it away. Introduce your team and take it away.
Nate Bailey, President, IFF Local 134, also President of the Professional Firefighters of Georgia. To my left, my Vice President, Alvin Rashad, Secretary, Michael Tucci, and one of our most involved members, Shamari Owens, will be joining us today. And whenever you guys are ready, we'll get started. Right? Okay.
Pull the mic up a bit, would you? There you go.
I think our presentation went away. Oh, here we go.
There it is.
A little bit about us. 83% of all sworn AFRD are members of the IFF Local 134. We've increased our membership from 60% to 83%. We're one of the largest locals in the U.S. The IFF in Georgia is on the move. We've added about 10 new locals in recent years and added about 1,800 new members. A lot of good things happening with labor, and more fire departments want to get involved. Our goals this year, continue to work with the fire chief. We want to reduce the call volume. We're going to hit heavily on the health and safety of our members. And you guys are going to see just how much responsibilities we've had with basically the same amount of people since the 70s. Continue to partner with HR Commissioner. We built a really good, strong relationship, and we've had a lot of success mediating a whole slew of problems related to either ordinances, policy, or just personnel issues. And also keep building stronger relationships with other department heads. What we found, especially since I've been president, is, in our opinion, the fire chief is very dependent on other department heads being successful. He has the most buildings. He has, obviously, the fire trucks with fleet. We heard Gina speak heavily on public works, and we'll hit on that as well. Also, human resources with pay and payroll. So we also want to be involved and have those conversations so those other department heads can hear directly from us, you know, what the members might be saying. Our request from leadership this year, we believe the cancer testing was already in the budget. You know, when the administration hit that let's balance the budget button, Chief Smith definitely did that and, you know, cut the spending. So we want to make sure cancer testing is in the next budget. We believe it's already a part of his budget. It's been about 5 years since we did full round of cancer testing and physicals. Also a second set of bunker gear. What goes along with the cancer testing is a whole cancer initiative. If we leave a fire, and we need a second set of gear. A lot of our members already have it. We just want to make sure that every member has it. We're going to go over the incentive percentages and show you how they've dropped, which has affected our paramedic numbers. Also another round of apparatus. We'll go ahead and say that our biggest threat is still the fleet, still the apparatus. And it's simply because of how long it takes to get these things in. Increase the standard of repairs with apparatus. Gina actually hit on a lot of stuff that we were going to hit on about fleet and public works and making sure that they have the right training, and a lot of it goes along with the pay, especially with the diesel mechanics. So she touched on a lot of that for us. Our big ask and discussion that we want to have with the administration over the next 12 months is how can we relieve the workload on our firefighters so that they don't start leaving. You know, we always talk about what's our biggest threat. Well, it was pay, and they gave us a big chunk of that. The pension, we got that back. And then we had some payroll issues. We worked with HR to address that. Right now, one of the biggest threats is they're tired. We had a lieutenant leave and go to Roswell because of the call volume. He was a lieutenant at Engine 15, and now you can go to suburbs and wake up rested and get some rehab and go have time with your family. In Atlanta, there's no place to hide anymore. Engine 3 used to be pretty slow. Not slow anymore, it's very busy. All of our engine companies and truck companies are very busy. So we wanna have a good kind of committee discussion with the chief and the administration on what can we do within the confines of the budget to relieve some of this call volume so that our people aren't constantly fatigued. And I can tell you, as you get older, you don't recover as quickly as you used to. Pay scale and pay plan discussions. Gina also hit on this a lot about, you know, we appreciate everything that this administration has done. We've advanced faster in 3 years under Mayor Dickens than I can recall any other administration. But there's some fine tuning and some things we need to touch up. We got to have every member on a tier actually on the pay scale. So we want to, it might even be good to have a discussion with each group of interest to kind of have a recap of the pay study and see what their thoughts are on it. Ordinance changes, there's still a lot of ordinance and policy that's not aligning, which we've been mediating very well, and we want to continue to do that, and that might even take a couple of years. You all have seen ordinances that haven't been updated in 50, 60. They just need to be updated to how we're actually doing things, and it protects the city and keeps us from having to do all those grievances. Health and wellness, that's our #1 issue. The men and women are tired. They're running calls. Us being busy is really a testament to the city. We're growing. People are coming here. They want to spend money here. They want to go to all the events. But with more people comes more calls. Firefighting, as we think, is the only occupation that is classified as a carcinogen. We went over this last year. That's why the cancer testing has to be in the budget. When the chief comes before y'all, I'm sure he'll talk about it. He's been trying to get it in the budget, and we think it's already in there. A lot of our firefighters right now have passed away from these cancers or currently battling these cancers. It's a big deal in the fire service, and you know, PD's got their own threats specific to their profession. Cancer is one of our biggest threats that keep people out of the profession. So if they're going to come in and do the job, we want to at least offer them some testing. We all know with cancer, you got to catch it early. Call reduction, as I sit before you, I've been out for, you know, probably 4 months with the IOJ. The IOJs are up. calls go up, the age goes up, people are going to get injured. ADHD is through the roof in the fire department. I was going to ask y'all to do a survey, see how many firefighters are taking Vyvanse, Adderall, Ritalin. Some are just using Red Bulls. But then I was like, maybe they don't want to do that survey. Maybe we just focus on, reducing the calls. When you don't get to sleep, the cancer goes up because your body rebuilds itself when you rest. And if you start going days without rest, your body's not rebuilding itself. We're even starting to track cancers that are popping up at the busiest stations. The station that I'm assigned to in my position, there's somebody who has some issues going on. So the busier you are, the less you recover, and your body's going to start breaking down. Heart attacks, we've had, in the last 3 years, we've had an active duty sworn member pass away from heart attack and also one from stroke. Labor concerns. I was wondering, is this specific to us or is this specific to the city? But I was listening to Pace on the way in. It sounds like, I'll start with this. The city does a great job on certain issues. Like when I was first hired, we had some sexual harassment issues. Boom, city rolled out all these trainings, and it seemed like things got a lot better. Cybersecurity, if you don't do that, Target Solutions, you got like 10 chiefs calling you. So we know about that. Great LGBTQ plus training, ethics training. We think maybe the city needs to start implementing some labor training so that when supervisors are promoted or managers are promoted, they know how they can talk to certain people and things that they can say. Otherwise, it could be a finance issue because if the employee feels they're not being heard and they're trying to report something, they're going to get an attorney. What we can offer the city and all labor is mediate. 99.9% of the time, employees just want to be heard and they want the problem to be solved. If they feel like they knock on doors and nobody's answering, they're gonna get angry and they're gonna get an attorney. So we would like to see some labor training for all executive level managers and supervisors, probably citywide. Define what a labor association is. How you can infringe on someone's First Amendment if they're acting in their capacity as a labor representative. The Fifth Amendment, and there's a lot of state policies, and Georgia's actually very strong on retaliation. And in our opinion, that is a finance issue because we track every settlement that comes through finance, and we mediated a bunch. There's only been one settlement from an employee that we've tracked, and it was a recruit. And because of that, we're going to start signing up recruits 30 days after they get hired. We can't represent them, they're not sworn, but we can represent them for their First Amendment and other basic laws and policies. If we catch something early and they just want to solve it, we can save the city money. And they stay employed and nothing becomes, I think as Gina said, it's not on the news. Union leave. This is actually a big deal. And a couple years ago, I thought, well, we'll never push this. We got to push this. We've got collective bargaining. We got to manage a contract. What we found, and it's kind of citywide, is union reps can get some leave when it benefits the department heads or managers, but then when there's some issues, you can't get anything. It's shut down. If we don't get leave to handle grievances and issues, they're going to build up and it's going to blow up and become a big problem. The payroll thing that we did a couple years ago is a fine example of that. We started ringing some bells about that in 2019. It wasn't until basically right after this administration started, it seemed like everything kind of, escalated, which I hate that, but we had to work really, really hard to solve that. And our board was given 9 months of leave to mediate. We spent, in mediation, the union has to spend their own legal fund because it's not a settlement, it's not a suit. I think we've spent about $120,000 mediating because relationship's good, got a great mayor. We want to get to the next phase, the next chapter. A big suit can stop all chapters for years, So it benefits both sides to mediate, make the employee whole, and the biggest thing is addressing the root cause. Like we talk to them, we get past the anger. What do you really want? I want it solved, and I want to make sure it never happens again. And working with former HR commissioner and deputy commissioners, you saw some code changes that might have come through. That was the result of us mediating problems and them saying, this isn't well defined. So if you hire somebody in that doesn't know, they're just going to start processing things as they think is the best, but it might not follow the law or the city code. And when you get a few hundred of those, it can create a major problem. So there's a lot of work that was done by both sides to fix that. And we didn't do it at first, but now we're making sure if we mediate something, let's fix the code and the policy and make sure it never happens again. And the question, what really happens when you give labor time to work? We're going to put some of the things we've done, but for just the relationship, and we don't have to do that. We can meet one-on-one with council and talk about the work we've done over the last couple of years. Workers' comp and extra jobs. You guys remember the legislation we did about workers' comp and off-duty, if be covered? I think we can do it if we just change a couple words in this ordinance right here. And the reason this is a big deal is as a group, as a board, we want to make sure that everything we're actually doing before this administration leaves is in policy and code. Because we could get in trouble, and then we got to explain to a whole new administration, hey, we're doing this. And they're going to say, well, that's not what the code says. We have extra jobs where our firefighters wear uniforms. We can't find that that's in code. It's not an issue yet. Nobody's been injured. But as a union board, we have a duty to represent. We have to seek wages. If somebody's owed money, we have to process grievances. It's in our bylaws. If a firefighter's in their uniform and they're working on an extra job that might be approved, they get injured, is it technically covered? I think under this administration, we could argue it and get it, but I don't want to leave that to chance. So PD's had this for years because they have extra jobs. Well, we started having extra jobs a few years ago, so we're gonna ask y'all to amend this code, and it's a huge win all the way around. It covers us if we get injured inside the city limits, off duty, I think. I mean, law department might have and we're open to discuss this. We don't want y'all just to pass this without talking to the administration. It might take months, but we need to do this because we don't want to be in a workers' comp situation where we have to dip into our legal fund and try to seek a widow or widower's, wages if they think they're owed. And again, this is just code. In 2007, it looks like this ordinance was put in. I don't think we had extra jobs then where we were wearing our uniform. So with the movie sets is a lot of them. With the fire, pyro, they wear their uniform, but they're paid out through, private vendor that's been approved by the city. From a technical aspect, we just want to make sure that they're covered. It'll save us a lot of headaches. Staffing, under Chief Smith, 4 on an engine has been the norm. We've talked a lot about over the years, 4 and 4. We're not pushing 4 on the truck because we're still rebuilding the vacancies. We can't ask the chief to do something that's not possible. But we want to just put it out there and on the record. If we ever have to dip below, that's a noisemaker for us. If the policy comes out, we're riding with 3 on the engine, we're going to make calls to the administration, and we're probably going to give you guys calls. So we want 4 to be the standard, and we want to make sure that the chief has enough money in his budget to staff it, and if he needs to, his chiefs know to hire up, at least attempt to hire up to 4. If they call everyone that's off and they all say no, okay, but at least we're trying to hire up to 4 on every engine. I just kind of went over this, but yeah, I'm telling you, as you get older, you don't have that 4th person, and you got a high-rise fire, and whether you got 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, you got to carry the same equipment. I was on this call, and thank God we had 4 that day, because when the elevators opened at the top floor, they threw people at us, and we didn't want to make a decision on which person we're going to leave behind. So we were able to carry them all down, and it was touch and go, but all the citizens made it. It was a carbon monoxide leak, and dispatch did a great job, and we were able to evacuate the whole hotel. But 4 people made the difference on the initial alarm. Pay concerns. Again, this is updating the code. I believe with APD, theirs was 35 when this was kind of put in. So whoever altered this code made it $35 for an EMS monitor. We'd actually like to see this ordinance flexible, because you put a hard number in there with inflation. Do we want to come back every year and say, hey, the going rate's this, can we update it? So maybe we can mirror something with PD where there's flexibility to raise that rate. And this goes back to the extra jobs. Some of our members came to us and they said, hey, we're both wearing our uniform. He's making $65 an hour, I'm making 35. what's the deal? So we researched the code and we said, well, you're technically being paid by the city, as an EMS monitor, and this person's working for a private vendor, paying whatever, 65. So we want them to mirror each other. No one's going to blink an eye when they're having these huge festivals to pay a paramedic or EMT $65 an hour. And for recruitment, some of our members love to work. The young folks, they want to work every day. But we want to give people a chance to take a day off. So on one side, create more extra jobs. It's not pensionable earnings. It's not coming out of general fund. If the chief and the administration can, all these festivals, because we need paramedics. And when private vendors get these contracts, they don't have the communication. That's the biggest delay. And you get bad information. You'll get a call that we have 2 people unconscious, and then 10 minutes later, it's on the other side of Piedmont Park, and turns out it's 25 people. But if we are there with radios, direct access to dispatch, and you get the ball rolling, and you get the resources, and Chief Smith's been big into the movie sets and creating more jobs. So whatever y'all can do for these young guys, it'll keep us from asking y'all for more money out of the general fund for salaries, if we can give them opportunities. The incentive pay. A few years ago, we know that, I think it was led by the administration, they wanted to get away from the percentage for specialty pay. And firefighters have like 25 different responsibilities. Paramedic is one of the biggest. It's the one we use the most. Our paramedic numbers are down. We need to get them back up. We're polling our young members. They want the incentive higher because of the risk. Another issue is our paramedic engines are the busiest. So not only do you have all this responsibility for a smaller percentage, you're not sleeping. You're going to run all night. So some of them are afraid to get it because they're like, well, if I become a paramedic, I know I'm stuck, never getting on a truck company. If the city wants us to take on this extra responsibility, and we need them, I can tell you from experience, when you have 2 paramedics on an engine and you have a serious call with multiple patients, it makes a world of difference. Because not only are sometimes you the officer, you got to manage the whole scene. You're now the only one that can give certain drugs and do certain things for patients, and the entire family's looking at you to fix everything, in that very moment. So we definitely need to increase our paramedic ranks, and based on polling, the incentive percentage needs to go back to what it was when we started the paramedic program. It was 12% in 05. Then the pay scale was redone and it dipped to 10.5%. And then we started the flat rate in 2019. When we started the flat rate, it was based on a percentage. So it was, okay, if we update the salaries, it'll be a flat rate, but it'll be basically 12% or 10% of the salary. As we've gotten raises, that incentive amount stayed the same. So now our young firefighters are like, do I want to go to paramedic school for a year, take on this responsibility, liability, or do I want to work 4 overtime shifts and be on a truck company and have energy and with my family? So our position is, if we get a lot of people to become paramedics, we can spread the wealth, and you'll get some guys with relief, but we're having trouble getting folks interested in it. So we're asking for this. The good news is we only have like 12 at the firefighter rank that have it. So if we started low and started increasing it, it'd be a very, very minimal cost. From a labor side, probably should have made a little bit more noise internally about this when it started. This is from a 2015 department update that we found online. You can see the arrows pointing to 214 paramedics. We have 166 now. So city's grown. And if there is a paramedic shortage, Grady's running with advanced EMTs, and then they have a paramedic in a vehicle, which sometimes the city gets busy. There are paramedics riding in. So what happens when the paramedic on the Atlanta engine jumps off? Now they're the lead medical person on a Grady ambulance transporting to the hospital. And now you got engine 6 or engine 3 or 21 or 38 out of service, even if you got 3 people, because they're no longer ALS. When this program started in 2005, we had 2 paramedics on every advanced life support engine, and sometimes 3. So if the paramedic needed to ride in, the engine could go back to the station, get back in service, run calls, take the workload. But now usually they go pick up the person because they know they can get to the hospital and get back faster than somebody going to retrieve them. And that creates a huge lag in the call volume, because if like 3s goes down, 21's running 2 territories, and that happens quite a bit. Of all the things that we could ask for that's not that much, to me, this is one of the most easily justifiable. Pay scale. When they did the 2%, when the city did the 2%, we got some folks that are not on a tier, and that could create a grievance problem or a pay problem. So when we asked about maybe it would be good to do kind of a recap on the pay studies, maybe we can talk about that then to get more information. At the end of this journey, this 2-year implementation, we want to make sure everyone is on a tier, they know what their tier is, and they can easily calculate their pay. And I guess I'll talk about it in this. Okay, so about the pay plan, yes, there was some, we made a little noise about the pay plan last year. We met with the administration. We think the door now is open for maybe something more on a global scale that affects pay and health and wellness. And that might take a few years to implement. And it could go along with the Kelly Day, Relief Day, or more wages that are pensionable. But we're still open to discuss that, and we think that discussion can still happen. Let's see. Oh, this is something our members asked for. For the last 2 years, we haven't had a pay scale distributed through the email, the city email. So they've actually depended on the union for their pay. So we have all these spreadsheets and calculators. We double check it and triple check it, but it's not official. We need, to protect the city, we need official pay scales for the department with the incentives. Every time there's an update, COLA, any change, we need pay scales distributed. Disciplinary action and procedures. So what's been happening, and it sounds like it might be citywide, is might not like somebody or something they might have said, and they get charges filed on them, and then those charges just sit. But the charges are pretty serious. Possibly, if sustained, could end their career. So they gotta go to work, they gotta be a firefighter, they gotta provide medication and the best care for our citizens. And every day, they know the charges aren't justified, but they just hang out. But other folks get them completed real quick when it's an actual, okay, they did this. They're gonna, have their punishment and move on. But we got some, quite a while. So we're gonna push this one real hard internally. And when we meet with y'all, we're gonna talk about it. We can run 25 calls in one shift, be dead tired, 6 Red Bulls, buy Advanced Adderall, whatever else we can be legally prescribed and still do our job. If we leave without completing those reports, we're getting written up and we got 15 chiefs calling us. Why can't disciplinary action be done in 90 days? It needs to be done in 90 days. We searched other cities and counties and we try to compare Atlanta to labor-friendly cities in the Southeast. Louisville, Lexington, Miami, Nashville, they all have policies. You can't just leave it out there because we view it as stress and harassment. If somebody's thinking they might lose their job, you want a clear mind when somebody's got to make split-second decisions. You don't want them to come to work every day sweating. Even though they know they have a good defense and it's unfounded, you don't want that hanging out there. There's no reason why this can't be done. Some places do it in 30 days. We think 90 days is fair. We can justify it, and we are going to push it. I don't know if we'll get it, but we're going to push it. And this is what we talked about: intimidation tactics or harassment. The labor training, First Amendment training, Fifth Amendment training, all that's 14th Amendment. Probably be good for the city for any newly promoted manager or supervisor. I don't know how it is in other departments, but in the fire department, you got to read 14 books and study for a year to become a lieutenant or a captain, and it's highly competitive. You can study every book and make 5,000 note cards and still make a 65. But you got all these facts and laws, federal laws, state laws, and you can pull on them. To make a battalion chief or section chief, you're now a chief. And are they getting the training? Do they have the training? Do they know? I'll give you an example. You have a firefighter that a Muslim firefighter who wants to observe Ramadan. Do our chiefs know what to do about that? Because we've had to help some of our chiefs with that information. And a lot of times the conversation will start with, you're about to get yourself in some trouble. We're going to help you out here. There's not any ill intent. They just don't know what to do, you know? Yeah, female firefighters, we're having a lot of communication with them about there needs to be some better training about around pregnancy, facilitating their needs, and we want to make sure they feel welcome. If you look at the percentage of firefighters that resign, we hire a much lower percentage. But if you look at the percentage of the group that we hire that resign, female firefighters, it's very high. You know, a lot of it had to do with facilities, and we've done a good job. Like, if you put a female with 8 guys at one station, one bathroom, city's doing everything they can. You know, like we're trying to rebuild them. We've gotten a lot of improvements. Our worst station, our worst station used to be our best station. So that's how far we've come with our stations, with Dean and this administration. But I'm trying to see what would be the best route for the city. Maybe do a citywide anonymous poll. Like, what do you think we're lacking on? What do we need to train on? Is there any group that feels like they're not being treated properly? And then take those results and implement training, you know? Because sometimes as a station officer, you get put in a position where you want to handle it exactly right. Because if you don't, you know, you're going to make this person, you know, feel bad, and then you're going to be in trouble. And then that's when we reach out and make calls. We don't want our upper management to wait until that moment to try to figure something out, because they might make a decision on their own that could cost the city money, you know, essentially. Yeah, I think that's it on that one. Yeah, you don't, I mean, council, what if we were sitting here with charges against us and they could end our career and we had to go to work every day? I mean, hypothetically. I mean, that would be very stressful for our families also. Our biggest threat, want to make sure that we say that the administration can't do any more. They wrote $1 million checks. But these trucks you can build a Super Bowl stadium faster than a fire truck. You know, it takes forever. So once we get the next couple orders in, we'll probably be in a better spot. Gina hit heavily on this. When I was listening on the way in, I was giving her applause because we got to raise the standard. At some point over the last 20 years, a couple areas in the city, it was almost like this normalized deviant behavior where substandard became the standard, the way we take care of our trucks, the way we, Commissioner Blackburn's done a great job with payroll, and then we definitely had huge improvements there. But 4 years ago, you all know we had a lot of stuff to address. And the facilities, not doing the maintenance for decades. This administration spent tens of millions of dollars because there was no upkeep. So the last one on our list that we think is going to take the longest is the fleet. But it's one of the most important things. That new training center is amazing. You know, people are envious of us. You can train us to be the best, but if we don't have that rig to get there, you know, it's not going to do any good. I mean, we will, but it's going to take us a while to get there. I guess how many stops MARTA has, you know, will make it. But we need to raise the standard. As a labor group, we don't want management to bring down the hammer on the person at the bottom. If you hire a 20-year-old in the city of Atlanta and you give them a wrench and you say, fix this truck, they're going to do their best to fix that truck. So a lot of times when mishaps happen, we know that the ball rolls downhill. We need to do a global kind of plan and say, what is the standard? What certification should the techs have? Let's get them trained. Let's pay them so they don't leave us. Diesel mechanics are some of the highest in demand. And I don't know the stats, but I can guarantee you they're coming here, getting some training, getting a little experience. They now have City of Atlanta on their resume, and they're going private sector and getting more money. So I don't have the answers to that. Fleet's not our specialty, but we know that the repairs need to improve. We want a special care to be taken on these trucks. And also, even when they're wrecked, the city collects money from insurance, put that back in the fire chief's budget for repairs. If we start repairing all these trucks and make them look immaculate, you know, the shop and everyone will start having this pride, you know, in their job and the apparatus. there's some apparatus, our crews will say, hey, is this a new dent or scratch? And we're like, well, I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. There's so many on there. So we definitely need to improve the apparatus. Since it takes so long, we're asking as soon as the budget opens to another round, whether it's 8 engines or 3 trucks or whatever the chief and finance have decided. We need to keep ordering them every year until we get this fleet, fully replenished, so that every engine and truck is in service every day. Because we still have periods where there's engines down, trucks down. It kind of fluctuates. If a truck's down or engine's down, you just double the call volume on the neighboring. That we get a lot of calls about that. Somebody comes in, they're happy. They just know they went from 10 calls to 25. Those new trucks are expensive. We're putting 25 calls on those hybrid trucks or trucks. Gonna rip the wheels off of them. We're gonna destroy them. A lot of the calls, you'll see how it's increased, is one of the reasons our apparatus took a beating. We went to the IFF leadership, a lot of chiefs did, and they're locals, and they've asked Congress to do a commission. 70% of all fire truck manufacturers are owned by one equity firm. So it might be convenient for them to only release a few at a time and prolong the production to increase the prices. So they don't like the consolidated market. Hopefully we'll see more independent or more fire truck manufacturers so that we can bring the cost down and get them faster. Also, we're going to send this to the law department and probably finance and definitely the chief. The IFF is suing the chemical companies, and the law firms are the same ones that took on Big Pharma, Big Tobacco. And if there's a payout, the goal is to replace all our turnout gear. Because the gear itself, it's bad enough the fire and the smoke's giving us cancer. Turns out our gear is killing us. It leaches into our skin when we heat it up and gives us cancer. So it's like, it's a double whammy. Yeah.
Quick question. Did I miss the portion, you said something about cutting cancer testing?
They didn't, I want to be careful here. I don't think they cut it. I think that it might have been delayed until July. Like it was, I can't accurately say that it was in the budget, but I believe it was for this year. So we want to make sure that it's in there for July.
Ms. Carr, would you like to speak to that real quick? Yes. No, it's not you. It just needs a second.
Got it. Okay, yes, it is in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And a lot of the budget items, we already know they're in there, but we just want to back it up. We want to make sure that, because it helps if someone says, hey, you got trim here, there. Well, the union was making noise about this. Let's make sure that it's in there. So, and cancer, you got to catch it early. We can't, certain things we can't delay, and it's been a couple years. I think the original idea from the IFF was at least every 3 years. A lot of states are mandating that it has to be done every 2 years. We'd like for the city to be the leader on that as well, like make it the norm where we're at least going to do it every 2 years. And what we're seeing with our local and this administration is we're actually changing the fire service in Georgia. I'm getting on a little tangent here, but like with our pension, now other places are like, oh man, Atlanta gave them a pension. Now we got it. So we're going to improve the fire service with all these changes that we're making. Did my PowerPoint go away? Oh, here we go. Okay. So the workload. So this will be huge. I don't know if there'll be a payout. There's no obligation from the city, but I think Columbus, Macon, Bibb, there's around 15 cities in Georgia or counties that have signed on. All the city has to do is sign on. If there's a big payout, and get some money to pay for some stuff. The workload, 30 engines in 2005. Y'all seen these before or should have, so I'm going to go through them because there's a bunch of them pretty quick. So in 05, 1,600 calls average per engine. In 2019, another 1,000 calls. Our total incidents doubled. We used 2019 because we went through some years where some engines and trucks were down, so we wanted to get accurate numbers for each engine or truck. Truck responses in 05, one of the biggest increases, and when we talk about getting a break, you come on for 10 or 15 years, okay, my body hurts, I've got training, I'm a good truck operator, I can open elevators well, I can pull seal, I'm great at search and rescue, I want to go to a truck company, fight a couple fires each shift, maybe get some rest. Our trucks are slammed busy. Truck 11 in Atlantic Station, I was there for 3 shifts. They ran 20-plus calls a shift. And now you're missing meals. You're trying to, when are we going to eat? And it takes a toll on the members. From the financial side of the city, sick leave's going to go up, IOJs are going to go up. And eventually, I didn't think people would leave for the call volume, but they see another opportunity where pay might be similar. At least I enjoy my days off, so they take that opportunity.
Let me jump in here with a kind of a time check moment.
Yeah.
So APD's here. They're up next, actually, in a couple of minutes. So just a word to y'all. We don't.
Real quick and answer
Thank
your
you.
question. About the Kelly Day, when the 53-hour work week was established in mid-70s, Atlanta had 39 stations, ran 32,000 calls, 986 firefighters. 37 stations, average around 85,000 calls, 2020 to 2024, around 900 sworn. So we've almost tripled the calls, and not much has changed, and the stations are sworn. That's why the folks are tired. If the chief wants to change anything that's health and safety that's related to another department, let him do it. He wants to change dispatch and implement a new EMS system that can reduce our calls. We want to make that happen. The relief day, that's going to be kind of a big initiative. We want to work with the administration. It's not tied to the pension. There's a way we can give compensation that doesn't affect the pension or post-employment benefit. We know the credit rating is important. We know the pension contributions are very important to the administration. We think that just straight pay might be easier to get. Not easy, but easier to get. You guys are going to have all this in your email and the handout. Look at the hours Atlanta works compared to other major cities. We're the top. Philadelphia, starting pay might be about the same. They work around 2,100 hours. We're scheduled for 2,920. So they work a third less, same pay. Revenue opportunities, we've hit on all this before. Whatever the administration wants to do, any door they want to knock on and ask for money that doesn't come from the tax-paying citizens, we will go knock. We even said, what about if we asked the state of Georgia for a $10 million annual public safety grant? Because every year Georgia has a huge surplus to give everyone $500. Well, if you got $1 billion, can we get $10 million and protect the Capitol? Because if there's a fire at the Capitol, a third of our equipment's going. The admission fee, it's getting legs. We just got to get there early. Whatever y'all want to do, we'll advocate, we'll make phone calls, we'll do whatever. The fire fee, this could be a millage rate reduction, and they've done it in other cities. No matter what nonprofit you are or what tax exemption you have, fire doesn't care. So every building or structure would pay a fire fee. Then you could lower the actual property taxes on the homeowner. And there's a quick example. Say the Atlanta portion is $2,000. Well, if you do a fire fee on every property, we got some big universities and nonprofits in Atlanta that the city's been great to. Everyone pays a fire fee. If it burns and there's chemicals or there's a threat, what's it going to cost for the fire department to mitigate the incident? So citizen pays $2,000. Well, do a fire fee. Maybe they pay $1,800 for the Atlanta portion and a $75 fire fee. You can reduce it because now everybody's paying into the system. This is one of the best and to me makes the most sense. A lot of counties and cities don't do it because it takes a couple years. You got to do a lot of data and make sure you get it right, and the messaging has to be right. So we're going to ask you all a specific question today. Let's get this collective bargaining agreement signed in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
We got to keep our jackets. Summary, we want to change a few policies. We want to mediate and prevent litigation. We kind of wondered what's our specialty? How can we really help the administration? Well, since I've been the president, it's preventing lawsuits. Like, let's get together and talk and make them happy. And okay, we're good. Everybody shakes hands. And usually we just give them what they're owed or we solve the problem. Continue to invest in equipment. Can't say enough about ordering those trucks when the budget opens, whatever date that is. If it goes post haste to the mayor and he does his job, those other department heads have to do theirs and make sure the purchase order is actually sent. Cancer screenings, explore reducing work hours. I want to be clear, this doesn't have to happen this budget year. We just want to start the process and see what we can really come up with. And labor and train managers, it sounds like it's a citywide issue and we might need to address with some training. council. Obviously, we thank all y'all for being, here for us. This is definitely the most pro-labor council that I know of. We hate to lose a couple of y'all. They're leaving. Certainly. And honestly, when we started hearing about that, we're like, man, this is why you need collective bargaining and you need some policies on paper, because the relationship's good and maybe we don't need to write everything down. But when people leave, if it's not written and it's not code, how are we going to operate, And we don't want to fight that anymore. And again, want to thank Councilmember Shook. Thank you always for being accessible. The 3 members we're losing with Council President have always responded to our emails. Council President Shipman has called me, and Amir's been outstanding, and you've always been, if we really need a push, we're calling, Councilmember Shook. So we thank you for that. And the mayor, our city attorney has been great. We love her. She's actually pretty funny too. She made the collective bargaining fund. Commissioner Blackburn, we pray that the administration makes him permanent. We don't need interims on anything. He's, I think the summary was, we want it to be my pleasure when it comes to customer service in the city of Atlanta, and we love that. And got to give them time, got to figure out the policies and improvement. The COO, we call her the fixer. If you give her some problems, she fixes it. She's been outstanding when she was the deputy COO. And Mayor Dickens has been amazing. 3 years, completely transformed the fire department. And the training center is a legacy item, and so is the pension. Those are things that'll last longer than anyone. So, and Chief Smith has been great. He definitely helped out early on when we didn't have a lot to offer employees. Let us wear what we want and let us kind of be free in the station. So I know we're out of time, but do you guys have any questions?
Thank you. Questions, comments? Ms. Bacteria.
I was just going to say thank you. I mean, all of these are issues that you've done a great job of keeping us updated on, and you always pick up the phone. Appreciate y'all. I'm looking forward to working on these. I mean, no real questions because we've talked about this a million times because you've done such a good job advocating and communicating. So we'll keep at it. You got me. And we started a petition to keep Councilmember Shook from leaving, so feel free to sign it.
We'll sign that.
Thank you.
Others? I want to say I really appreciate the tone and tenor that you've shown us and the detailed presentation you've put before us, knowing something about sort of what you've been doing and are working through and negotiating for now. Y'all have been very patient, and your statesman-like sort of a tone and tenor with which you're going about this is what's ultimately going to get you across the finish line. And then I guess for the last time, I'll be able to say thank you in the context of a budget hearing for all y'all do. All right, there appears to be nothing else. We'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you as always. All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you are ready, take it away.
Sure. Waiting for them to put the PowerPoint up.
And introduce yourselves, please.
All right. I am Lieutenant C.J. Murphy, the President of IBPO Local Chapter 623.
And I am Officer Bridgman, and I am the Secretary.
So we went back and forth discussing what topics we were going to talk about today. And we're going to hit on 2 main topics. I promise you it won't be long, but they're 2 very important topics. So the first is the collective bargaining agreement. Just like fire, we want to establish a set of rules and guidelines, update those to make sure everything is, we're all on the same page as far as what we want to do as a department. Now, the second thing that we want to talk about is reducing the years of service for police officers. And we talked about it for, since I've been here, and I've been here for 15 years. And I see you all when you come to all of the swear-ins and you congratulate the newly sworn officers and wish them well and to be safe and thank them for their service as they continue to go out into the streets and dedicate their lives and time and family time to the city of Atlanta. What you don't see sometimes are those officers at the calls, the crying, the being upset, the not being able to sleep, the substance abuse, the divorce rate, the counseling, and the things that happen of that nature. We love the city. We love the department. We love what we do. But we have to have not a presentation, but a conversation because 30 years is too long. We've lost several officers. I know that you were there beside us, and thank you for that, attending those funerals to suicide. We're losing officers to substance abuse, and they're still here with us, but they're not here with us. So what we want to do today is get everybody on the same page and agreement that we have to do something. It's not about making an adjustment and taking a vote. It's about doing what's right. Usually after an officer retires, the life expectancy was about 7 to 10 years. It's dropping down drastically. After mostly APD officers, unfortunately, we're looking forward to 5 years. The health, the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspect of the things that we see affects us every day. Police officers respond to calls on everybody's worst day. And sometimes they go from one call to the next call to the next call. So again, we want to talk about reducing that to 25 years. And not only will that help us recruit, but it'll show a financial gain to the city also. All right, so we did a survey within the department, and what you can see right now is officers, for the most part, on the blue, all the way on the right side, they're willing. We're willing to pay more into our pension if that means we'll get a chance to leave. We understand that that doesn't mean we'll have the same benefit and the same percentage rate, and we're okay with adjusting that. 70, 75%, something to give us a way to get 25 years and out. The 25-year system will make us more competitive with other departments. As you know, recruiting is a huge thing right now. We've gotten over 5,000 applications to become Atlanta police officers this year. We've hired about 118, but we are also competing with local jurisdictions and honestly national jurisdictions that have a better retirement, a shorter years of service. So it would increase the interest from younger recruits also. Most of the times when I signed on, pension wasn't a big deal to me, but the kids now, they're paying more attention to how long they have to spend at departments in order to sustain the lifestyle that they want to sustain. And what they're doing is they're department hopping. So let's say I'm here, then San Antonio offers me a $20,000 bonus, I'll go there. They don't have a loyalty to stay to the city unless we give them more of a reason to stay. With the administration and you guys, we've been able to make APD better. With the pay and the pension reform, we're in a very good place, and we're very appreciative of that. But we're a world-class city that's innovative, and for that reason, we have to keep moving forward with progress. This will be one of the major things to help us get that progress and help us attract more people. 70% of the officers in our survey indicated that they will more likely to remain at the department under a reduced service model. So what that means is the officers that are 10 years or 15 and younger on the department, they're willing to stay longer for 25 years if that means they can leave. As I stated, 30-year careers are increasingly difficult to sustain physically and mentally. We don't publicize the officers that are on leave due to mental depression, suicide, ideation, things of that nature, but it does happen. Police officers are human. Going from call to call and seeing some of the worst things that people have ever seen in their lives has an effect on them. And then we're losing families to divorce, You're not the same person when you come home, you become cold, the kids don't want to talk to you. These things affect work-life balance in the officer's lifestyle. Over 60% of the officers over 45 report health-related concerns directly affecting the job. As you know, our vests and these belts that we wear around our waist are not good for us at all. Then imagine being in a car for 10-hour shifts, or even longer sometimes, depending on what we have going on, especially these major events. We're on our feet, our boots. It's uncomfortable, it weighs on the body. So even if you try to work out as much as possible, no human body is supposed to do what we do. And then the lack of sleep, all right? That is a huge thing. A lot of officers suffer from insomnia. Once you get home, you're unable to sleep. Maybe because of the call that you did that day, maybe because you got to testify in a homicide the next day, but the anxiety that you feel, the emotions that you feel, maybe you held somebody when they took their last breath, or a mother screamed and you can't forget it. Those things that affect an officer's sleep affect everything that they have to live for. Early retirement options promote wellness, reduce injury risk, and allow for more dignified career exits. We have officers who have to medically retire. A lot of them want to wait out their time, get their 30 years so they can get their full retirement. But unfortunately, for medical reasons and a lot of the injuries they sustain on duty, they're unable to do that because they have to choose themselves and pick themselves and their families first. Okay. Overall, it's not about statistics, it's about being human. And the human beings that serve the Atlanta Police Department are hurting. They're hurting and they're looking for a way to be able to serve their city and still be able to function when they get home. We want to reduce the years of service. We understand that not everybody would leave. Some officers are willing to stay. If that means they stay 30 years, they get 80%, like myself. I feel like I've done 15, I want to keep going, then I can stay. But if something happens, and I'm at 25 years, and I know mentally I need to go, I will have that option to go. It's not good to have officers on the department who are not mentally well, who are suffering from depression, who are not sleeping, go out to answer these calls. And you see the officers who are older, who have been through things, or you see the young officer that got into one shooting and just was not able to return back to the street. This overall is a problem that we could fix together. With your help, your support, and the administration support, our command staff is on board, they support us. We can make a change that affect not only the current generation, but the kids of the officers and generations to come. This is something that will go beyond just today. And when we do talk about it, the lives and the people that we save will be nothing that'll be measurable for anyone. But we really want to take just today to talk about the officers. We know that our precincts are being updated. We know that take-home cards are going out. We know that pay has gone up. We are grateful for all those things. We got 10-hour shifts rolling around. You know, the officers are happy, you know. They're happy with the progress that we're making. We know that we have to continue to make progress, you know, always getting more money. But at the end of the day, if you don't have yourself, and if you're not able to go home and hug your kids or be happy to enjoy life, then it's not worth it. And that's the thing that we wanted to talk about today. And that's the thing that's important, to being able to be happy, serve your community, and still have a life outside of that. So 25 years, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, is something that I think that we can bring to the table and do. It's something that officers are willing to pay for to help the city still save money. We'll save with insurance costs, you know, pension costs. We'll still save money, but it'll give us a chance to get younger recruits in who see, I could serve Atlanta for 25 years, and then give those officers who have been here, who know that they need a chance to do something else, to pass their legacy on to the next officer and be able to retire and live a full life. You good?
That's it?
That's it.
Wow. All right, Mr. Dozier is up first, followed by Ms. Bakhtiari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, LT, for sharing that. I think it's very important what you shared. I think too often we forget about the human toll that happens, that is taken when people do this type of work. I know last year the state legislature passed a requirement for every municipality across the state of Georgia to carry PTSD insurance for first responders. So I guess my question actually is for Department of Finance. have we implemented that policy yet? And I'm curious as far as the timeline on that implementation.
Yes, that is correct. We have implemented that policy. You are right. It is something that came over from the state of Georgia, and so we have implemented that policy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then just a comment to that is, PTSD is only one part of the puzzle. You described very well the mental toll and anguish that many folks are dealing with that often goes unaddressed, is often silent. Something that I deal with in my community, serving with military veterans. The number of people I've lost in my life because they've been afraid to reach out and tell people what's going on and what's wrong. It's alarming. I know it's not just that community. It's police, it's fire, it's a lot of our communities that do this work, risk so much, and just suffer silently for so long. So my comment is just please let me and my colleagues know how we can support the community, whether it's through policy. There's other best practices that other cities have done that you think that the city of Atlanta can lean into to support officers in their day-to-day. If there's anything we can do with our Department of Human Resources to make sure that there are more opportunities for officers to feel whole, please let us know. But this is something that is near and dear to me, it's near and dear to my colleagues. Mental health is something that we just don't do enough to address, not just with our police officers, but across the board. So I appreciate y'all for sharing that story and for just making sure this conversation is front and center. Thank you.
No, thank you for that. We have like the Wellness Center and peer support, and Chief Sherbaum is very, very supportive of us and our wellness and our mental wellness. And I can text him at any time when I get an officer in crisis, and he'll pick up the phone. But again, we could, when we were talking about what to talk about, we could sit up here and ask for longevity pay. We could ask for more take-home cards. We could ask for all these things. But if our officers aren't here, then what does it matter, So we want to get the best pension retirement program there is across the country for police officers, especially with the work that we do and the amount of major events that we host. The PTSD program, the insurance is amazing. But like you said, a lot of times they suffer in silence. But at least if they're in silence, at least they know where the end is. So, you know what I'm saying? They know when, I got 10 more years, or maybe I should do this. Maybe I should talk to someone because this person talked to someone and they were able to turn it around in their last 10 years serving the city. So if we give the officers something to look forward to overall, I think that will help, especially mentally, motivate them even more. Say, hey, we got a great administration, the counselors on our side, we're moving in the right direction, and guess what else? We see how much you've suffered, we see how much you work, we see how much you've given up and dedicated, so let's reward that. Let's show you that we want you to have a life beyond policing. We want you to see your kid graduate from college and walk down the aisle, because like you said, as a police officer, you're still dealing with everything else. You're still dealing with the loss of grandparents or, the loss of a friend or illness. So, but any opportunity to get the years of service, I appreciate your support.
Hello, there we go. I wanted to, Councilmember Dozier took away my first question, as he usually does. But mine was just piggybacking off of that around the mental health support. I know about the Wellness Center when we got the tour, we were able to stop in, they seemed fantastic. To your point, I don't think the human body is evolved enough to take in the amount of stressors and information we're exposed to on a daily basis, and I think that goes quadruple, if not more so, for our first responders. And to that point, I remember one of the shootings you were talking about, it was in my district, it was at one of the gas stations. A man took the cashier hostage, 6 officers came on the scene, he was firing out to the intersection.
Yeah.
And some of our officers, while they lived through that, and very well couldn't come back from that emotionally, from mentally. And so my question was, looking at mental health support, yes, PTSD, complex PTSD, borderline personality disorder, insomnia, arguably a slew of other mental health disorders that are not diagnosed. And to your point, taking that home and shutting down emotionally because it's just too much. My ask is also what, in terms of other mental health practices, I attempted for us to look into ketamine therapy because I met an officer at a program who had another officer take his life in front of him and his brother officers, and he said ketamine therapy is what saved his life. And so are there other alternative therapies that we're looking at that you all know of that I'm happy to continue researching that could continue to help with some of offsetting or like with brain function, with rest, all of those things?
And I'll be honest with you, I'm an advocate for therapy.
Yeah.
I have a therapist myself, and I think what would help us would be more to get the family involved. Like a lot of jurisdictions that I see, we have family fun day, which is great, but it's once a year. And the officers that are on duty, you know, they can't really interact and have fun with their family and their kids.
Can you elaborate on the once a year piece?
So Family Fun Day is an event that happens once a year.
Oh, Fun Day, okay.
Yeah, Family Fun Day. We started at the academy. It gave officers a chance to bring their family to where we work. And they're able to interact with command staff and play games, and that's fun. But it's really up to each supervisor for every unit to dictate how we interact with the family. So it would be helpful as a department if we created more programs to get the
Standard
families
protocol across the board.
involved.
Yeah.
So not only that, why don't we have a picnic every quarter? You know, why don't we have these things and so the families will be involved, so the kids will see what mom and dad do and where they go every day. So it's different when, you know, you're working at EJ's, you come home, you barely see your kids, or rather your kids seeing you and be like, they're proud of you and they see you. And then to have that hug when you get in the house from your significant other, it matters. So I think, to me, we have Dr. Moore and Dr. Mitchell, they head up our programs.
Yeah.
They do a great job, but I think it needs to be more inclusive to include, you know, the family. Not only that, but our religious outreach. We have the chaplaincy, which is good, but again, we can always do better. We can always do more. So the interactions with the officers and their family, that work-life balance is huge. So, but I think that we can get there together.
You have my word, I will research and start reading up on the other municipalities. If there's one that you can suggest to me to model best
Absolutely.
after, I would love to learn more.
Okay.
Because in terms of mental health for our first responders, our employees, but starting with our first responders,
Right.
with our police officers, with our firefighters, with our 911 operators.
Right.
Yeah, the stresses are,
Yeah.
I know, unbearable. And much more so, I mean, we have the everyday person right now in this climate, and on top of that, having to be a mediator, a guidance counselor, a truant officer, marriage counselor, all these things. So that is something that I will dedicate myself to researching.
Right. Because like I said, we come to people on their worst day, the worst event of their life. And then that officer could be handling the worst day of their life. You know, so it's just a back and forth. And then speaking for me personally, as a rookie, we lost SBO Gail Thomas. And I was out there on the highway. My very first call the next day was the exact same location where she was killed. And then as a rookie, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for days. I kept having nightmares, seeing myself running up the highway trying to get to her, you know? And at that time, you know, I'm in my 20s, not understanding what's happening with me mentally and with my body and how I'm not able to sleep. So fast forward, you know, therapy, we get through that. And then as a homicide detective, in 1 year, I responded to like 4 kid cases, back to back to back to back. So it's like nonstop. You want to be the best officer. You want to give the best things and dedicate yourself to the city that I love, we all love. But at the end of the day, we have to know when the limit is. And 30 years is too much.
Understood. Thank you.
Others? I want to thank you for your presentation. I've no doubt that when APD leadership comes in to present their budget, a lot of these themes and questions that you have put to us will be put to them. And that is kind of really my only question. How much of what you've socialized with us have you already begun discussing with APD leadership, and what's that looking like to you?
So we're very open and have an open line of communication with leadership. Chief is aware that I was going to do a push for a shorter years of service. He supports whatever's best for the police. And he knows, personally, he knows and has seen officers suffering and at their worst days. So they are very supportive of us. We have already started working with the pension board, reaching out to them, trying to run the numbers, trying to get an idea what it looks like. So we already did the survey to make sure there was a fear of a mass exodus, but the department is very young. The department is very young, so we don't have that fear. We also looked at presenting different lags, like you have to have at least 5 years left or 8 years left to take advantage of it. So it would be staggered, but the command staff is aware, and they know that we're going to push for it, and that's our focus.
All right, well, that's good to hear. We appreciate that. So thank you, obviously, for all that you do. Yeah, times 10. I want to thank, so that's going to wrap it up for today. I want to thank the Department of Finance. I want to thank the leadership of all the unions who came in and shared their views with us. Obviously, this is the first day. Oh, I'm going to. So this is the first day, as we've got a long slog ahead to really kind of understand this budget. I want to thank the council staff, Department of Finance staff, all the technical people who have cobbled this together. I know it's taken an awful lot of effort to get us through this and hopefully through this week. And then I believe next week we'll be back in our usual chamber. So we will take this back up again tomorrow, also starting at 10. Starting off with fire rescue, then corrections, and then after our lunch break, it'll be DEEM, Citizens Review Board, and we will wrap up with law. Until then, we are adjourned. Thanks. What?
You want to thank the sound people?
I think. All right, we're adjourned.